Chapter 220. The city in the sky was in an uproar. No one would have thought that the dignified second in command of the heavenly martial army, the son of the commander, would actually be defeated. He had no power to resist at all. It was as if Lin Feng was only a stage 7 martial god, and Zhu Pidi was only a stage 5 martial god. He became famous in a single battle. Lin Feng's name had previously only caused a sensation in the sky martial continent. In the hearts of ordinary people, he was the son of God, a hero. However, the martial gods of the city in the sky knew that it was just a gimmick used to appease people. Although Lin Feng was strong, he was only a stage 5 martial god. Although his potential was huge, potential and strength were two different things. Now it was completely different. Defeating Zhu Pidi meant that Lin Feng already had the strength to challenge the stage 7 martial god. It could even be said that from the strength displayed in the battle, below the commander Moon Emperor, who could shake Lin Feng? Even Huang Mang, who had always been critical of Lin Feng, did not say anything this time. The layman watched the show, and the expert watched the door. Lin Feng's attack seemed simple and neat, without any tricks, but these true experts were clear about it. An extremely profound battle technique. To be able to control the fireball to turn around freely, as if it was his own hands. This was simply an impossible task. Heaven-breaking City was in a state of joy. All the martial warriors knew that Lin Feng had defeated Zhu Pidi, and all kinds of versions of the story were spread to the heavens. The largest restaurant in the city, the Xian Yun restaurant, was bustling with noise and excitement. All of you don't know, but Lord Lin Feng is extremely ferocious. That fireball was boundless, and it swallowed Zhu Pidi with a single move. A young man's mouth was like a flowing river that flowed endlessly, and his eyes were filled with admiration as he beamed with exultation. Wow, Lord is really amazing. That goes without saying. What commander's son, how can he compare to Lord? All the martial warriors were proud of him, their eyes filled with a blazing expression and reverence. This was their Vice City Lord. In the private room, Hunter Protector, your current fame has completely surpassed the 3 hunting masters, Silver Dragon said with a smile. Is there even a need to ask? To be able to defeat the second in command of the heavenly martial army, aside from the Moon Empress, who else can do that? Xiao Jian said confidently. Lin Feng smiled. He really didn't expect that the impact of his battle with Zhu Pidi would be so great. Originally, he had thought that this was merely a sparring match. In addition to the title of hero, Lin Feng has a new title in Sky City, Fang Ning said with a smile. Silver Dragon and Short Sword looked over. Fang Ning's eyes lit up as he exclaimed, "The 9th Titan!" Silver Dragon and Small Sword both nodded. Indeed, Lin Feng deserved this title. Although he didn't have any real power, it was a recognition of his strength. It was a symbol of status. It's just an empty reputation. Lin Feng smiled indifferently. Soon after, he stood up and said, "Let's go. It's almost time." That's right. Being able to withstand the beast riot is the most important thing. Silver Dragon's expression was solemn. The 100-day period was getting closer and closer. Under Lin Feng's leadership, the 9th team was practically invincible. In fact, Lin Feng alone could easily kill all the king-level magical beasts. Numbers were never a problem for Lin Feng. It seems like we don't have much to do. Fang Ning smiled confidently. I think we're the most idle among all the teams. Xiao Jian also felt helpless. Looking over, Lin Feng was like a god descending from the heavens. Fireballs exploded in his hands one after another. He could control them as he wished. None of the king-level magical beasts could escape. Even the overlord in the sky, no matter how nimble it was, only had one path left: die. Boom, 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 boom. The earth shook continuously as king-level magical beasts were slaughtered one after another. All the warriors on the battlefield were dumbfounded. They had never seen such a relaxed slaughter. It was as if he was slaughtering chickens. Heavens, those were king-level magical beasts. With control, my strength has increased by a whole lot. Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly. The current him had considerable strength in both long-range and close-range attack. The power of the fireballs was unquestionable. The most terrifying thing was that the fireballs were inexhaustible. They were practically made for group battles. Dealing with the beast riot was a piece of cake. If I can harmonize with the fire origin, my strength will increase by a whole lot. Lin Feng instantly gathered up 2 more yuan fireballs and released them with a thought. At this moment, he was already very familiar with this move and had practiced it to the point of perfection. It seemed simple, but he had practiced it for countless days and nights in the Mizar Palace. Just the consumption of starlight points was already an astronomical figure. Any success would require a lot of effort. At this moment, the 2 fireballs flew like meteors and hit 2 king-level magical beasts. All the king-level magical beasts, in a short period of time, they had all been massacred. The time spent was less than 10 seconds. Incomparably terrifying efficiency. Yin Long pulled out his silver sword and laughed. Wouldn't it be better if we save some strength to kill the high-level horde lords? Xiao Jian and Fang Ning nodded. Indeed, this would be more efficient, and the casualty rate of the human army would be lower. They were a team. The 9th team. In the city in the sky. The battle between Lin Feng and Zhu Pidi was still lingering. Suddenly, a shocking piece of news was sent over. Together with the Moon Monarch, the 2 most powerful human beings, the commander killed 3 titled martial gods in a swift and decisive manner. The alliance of assassins, kill without mercy. The commander's eyes flashed with a cold light. Through the huge light screen in the central area, all the titled martial gods trembled and felt uneasy. Kill the chicken to warn the monkey. Now that the end of the world is near, if anyone dares to stir up trouble, the 4 major forces will not tolerate them. The commander's aura was extremely terrifying. If you abandon the dark and join the light and contribute to the human race, we will let bygones be bygones. There was a deeper meaning in the commander's words. The operation this time had undoubtedly shown his determination. At this stage, the human race had to unite against the outside world. Unfortunately, only these 3 were able to find concrete evidence to prove their identities, the Moon Empress said softly. It's enough. The commander nodded and said in a low voice, where there is light, there will be darkness. The human heart is like this. Even if we get rid of the alliance of assassins, other alliances will appear. This operation will be enough to suppress them and make them not dare to act rashly. All he needed to do was to intimidate them. The Moon Empress smiled and looked at the commander. It was all thanks to Lin Feng's battle that they were able to move so quickly and decisively. They could kill one as a warning to the others and make the alliance of assassins hesitate. They could also reduce the impact of Zhu Pidi's battle on the heavenly martial army. The commander's action was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. But wasn't it the same for Shou? As long as it was helpful in resisting the beast horde and helping the human race, who would benefit more, was it important? The alliance of assassins. Damn it! The martial emperor's eyes were filled with anger. Crack! The teacup in his hand was crushed, and a solitary energy spread out from the martial emperor's body. A terrifying aura enveloped the entire underground palace, causing the 10 palace kings to tremble in fear. The martial emperor was not angry about the 3 dead martial gods. It was because the commander had killed one as a warning to the others. Under the combination of kindness and power, the alliance of assassins had a huge problem. Because of Lin Feng, there were many voices of doubt in the alliance. They had just been suppressed, but the commander had suddenly exposed them. The internal strife would definitely worsen. All right, Commander, I will do as you wish. The martial emperor's eyes flashed with coldness. 10 palace kings! The martial emperor shouted. Here! Because the Chakravarti king, Taishan king, and Pingdeng king were dead, there were only 7 of the 10 palace kings left. Pass down the order. From today onwards, the Alliance of Assassins will stop all missions. The martial emperor's expression was like a cold scorpion. His eyes were cold and sharp. Also, double the benefits. However, anyone who tries to leave the Alliance of Assassins will be killed. The 10 palace kings looked at each other and understood the martial emperor's plan. Hibernate. What's the big deal about enduring a moment of anger? Commander, we have plenty of time to play. The martial emperor's mouth twitched coldly. Go and be your hero, the savior of mankind. I will slowly play with you here. Let's see who will have the last laugh. But Emperor Lin Feng, King Bianqing hesitated and cupped his hands. He and Taishan King were sworn brothers. The death of Taishan King caused King Bianqing to hate Lin Feng to the extreme. I said stop all missions. Are you deaf? The martial emperor's eyes instantly bloomed in the darkness. A terrifying aura filled the hall. King Bianqing immediately broke out in cold sweat. He bowed and said, "Yes, martial emperor." Stupid. How can you deal with Lin Feng now? The martial emperor's cold eyes swept across the crowd and landed on King Bianqing. Even someone as strong as Zhu Pidi was defeated by him. To put it bluntly, except for the existence surpassing the martial god level, no martial god is Lin Feng's opponent. Everyone's face turned pale. They didn't expect the martial emperor to have such a high evaluation of Lin Feng. Wait, don't be impatient. The martial emperor gritted his teeth and his eyes flashed. The revenge that should be taken will be taken sooner or later. Very soon our era will come. Definitely. The martial emperor's eyes were bright. Training base. In the meditation room, it was empty. Lin Feng sat in the center of the meditation room. In front of him was a brand new secret manual. Its golden cover made it look noble. Golden Dragon Aura Technique. It was one of the rewards Lin Feng received in the Advanced Apprentice Assessment. I wonder if it can help me improve my strength. Lin Feng murmured softly. After returning, he had been immersed in the cultivation of control. He didn't have time to properly study the 2 rewards this time. Hua! He gently opened the book. Instantly, a bright golden light shone in front of Lin Feng. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Qidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 221. Aowo, a shocking dragon roar resounded. In front of Lin Feng's eyes, a bright golden dragon suddenly appeared, spiraling upwards. The powerful aura seemed to fill up the entire space, causing people to be shocked. What a terrifying aura! Lin Feng's expression changed slightly. The illusion disappeared in a flash. What entered his eyes was the wedge of the golden dragon aura art. It seemed to be carved with a golden pen, and the 5 dragon characters were filled with a mysterious feeling. Below the 5 characters, there was a paragraph of black handwriting, which was like flying dragons and dancing phoenixes. But except for the word dragon, which was faintly visible. As for the rest of the words, he did not recognize any of them. Oh no. Lin Feng had a bad feeling. He flipped to the next page and looked at it. As expected, what entered his eyes were paragraphs of hieroglyphic words. They were twisted like tadpoles, vivid and lifelike. Every word seemed to have a life of its own, but he did not recognize any of them. He flipped to the next few pages, and it was exactly the same. This golden dragon aura art was like a heavenly book. Phew, Lin Feng exhaled. Depressing. That feeling was like there was a big chest of treasures in front of him. He could reach it with his hand, but he could not take it. These should be the words of the Douling world, right? Lin Feng muttered softly, and immediately closed the golden dragon aura art. Although he was disappointed, he did not care too much about it. It seemed like he did not have any fate with it yet. There is still the first prize, Soul Practitioner Weapon, Aurora All. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Suddenly, a faint light flashed in his hand. A diamond-shaped metal object instantly appeared in his hand. The cold light was sharp, as if it was made of countless blades. Lin Feng held it in his hand and immediately felt a chill. It seemed to have a spirit and was connected to his mind. What a strange feeling! Lin Feng looked carefully, and his heart was filled with curiosity. It was completely different from the weapons of the Tianwu continent. It was quite special. Soul Personage Weapon. In other words, only soul personages are qualified to use it. Lin Feng thought to himself. And the specialty of a soul personage lies in their soul heart, the strength of their soul force, and Lin Feng's eyes flashed with a bright light, that strange energy. The mysterious energy of heaven and earth that he had obtained when he passed through the void tunnel. He was able to control force and possessed control that surpassed that of ordinary martial gods. Being able to use the ability space deceleration, it was unfathomable. He could even control the primordial fireball to follow him like a shadow. This Aurora All should be controlled by the energy of heaven and earth. Lin Feng chanted. In an instant, his soul heart spun rapidly. That strange heaven and earth energy rose and gathered outside his body in a spiral shape, forming an illusory brilliance. Try to control the Aurora All, like how you control the primordial fire. Lin Feng raised his hand instantly. A strong consciousness enveloped the Aurora All, and it instantly flew at high speed, making a whistling sound as it pierced through the air. But no, it's too slow. After leaving my hand, I can't control it at all. Lin Feng quickly rejected it. He chanted in his heart and suddenly understood. The primordial fire was like a part of his body, but this Aurora All was still a foreign object. It seems it's missing something. Lin Feng nodded thoughtfully, frowning slightly. Without a doubt, this Aurora All was definitely not ordinary. In the alternate world, the second-class reward was already such a precious spiritual treasure, let alone the first-class reward? Soul Practitioner Weapon, just by hearing the name, it was not simple. What exactly is missing? How can I control it? Lin Feng pursed his lips and fell into deep thought. Suddenly, clapping his hands, Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Oh right, isn't there the secret book Aurora All? With a thought, the simple black book appeared in an instant and imprinted itself in his eyes. The two dazzling words were like the light of the sky. Lin Feng's mind inexplicably reflected the two words Aurora All, and his heart beat inexplicably. However, opening the book, Lin Feng sighed softly. It's the words of Do Ling World again. Lin Feng felt a deep sense of helplessness. All kinds of feelings entered his heart. He had a treasure with him, but he couldn't use it. After fiddling with the Aurora All again, Lin Feng's eyes showed a touch of pity. He had a feeling that this inconspicuous Aurora All could greatly improve his strength, but he just didn't know how to control it. Forget it. Lin Feng shrugged. At present, the most important thing was to improve his strength. No matter how reluctant he was, he still couldn't use the Aurora All. Instead of wasting time in the exploration with no end in sight, it was better to make good use of the resources he had. With my current control ability, my attack power is enough, but Lin Feng's eyes emitted a bright light. He suddenly remembered the day of the advanced apprentice examination, the white-clothed young man's elegant body movement skill, walking in the void like walking on flat ground. It was really amazing. Body movement realm. Wasn't this what he lacked? Firefighters use guerrilla warfare as a means of battle. Attack power, body movement realm, both are indispensable. The advantage of battle was to make full use of one's own characteristics, one's own strengths. His outstanding elemental fire sensitivity was most suitable for firefighters. City in the Sky. Eastern District, Tianwu Army's territory. Father. Zhu Pudi's face was extremely gloomy. Have you thought it through? The commander looked at his son and said slowly, Yes, father. Zhu Pidi gritted his teeth and raised his head, his eyes flashing with a sharp light. Oh! The commander's lips curved into an indifferent arc. Zhu Pidi nodded hard, biting his lips so hard that it almost bled. He suppressed his voice and said, Father, I want to become strong enough. His eyes were filled with deep shame. Thinking of the battle that day, Zhu Pidi was so ashamed that he wanted to crawl into a hole to hide his face. After coming out of the arena, he didn't even know how he came back. I don't want to lose again, father. Zhu Pidi's body trembled slightly, and with a hint of hysteria, he roared, I want to win against Lin Feng, father. I want to win. Looking at his son's appearance, the commander inexplicably revealed a faint smile. All this time, his son had been too arrogant and willful. Under his careful nurturing, he had become a titled martial god too smoothly. Step by step, he had cultivated to become a stage 7 martial god and become one of the 8 giants of humanity. He had never failed. How can there be no setbacks on the path of a martial artist? The commander looked at Zhu Pidi and said in a deep voice, Failure is not shameful. What is shameful is a man who fails but can't stand up. This is my commander's son. Father will do his best to help you surpass the titled martial god. At that time, you will stand at the peak of everyone and look down on everyone. An expert needed a goal, and even more so, ambition. I won't disappoint you again, father. Zhu Pidi's eyes revealed a hint of ferocity. He would use his strength to take back everything that originally belonged to him. Lin Feng, I will never fall. Zhu Pidi roared in his heart. Intermediate training space. The cultivation of the control of the origin fireball is about done for the time being. If I go to the Mizar Hall again, no matter how many starlight points I have, it won't be enough. Lin Feng shook his head helplessly. The consumption of the Mizar Hall was too terrifying. The first floor required 10,000 starlight points, the second floor required 20,000 starlight points, and the third floor required 40,000 starlight points. And all of these were calculated in hours. Every hour. Looking at the remaining starlight points displayed on the dragon star seal, Lin Feng couldn't help but laugh bitterly. There were originally 20 million, but now there were only 18 million left. It was quite extravagant. Use it sparingly. A small stream flows for a long time is the real deal. Lin Feng nodded. In front of him, a huge, majestic, and magnificent palace appeared in front of him. It was as beautiful as a fairyland. Lin Feng gently stepped into it. This was the goal of his trip, Migres Hall. This is the place to practice and comprehend the realm of movement technique. Lin Feng's eyes were filled with anticipation. The last time he came here, he was mercilessly rejected. But this time, welcome to the Migres Hall. A familiar voice sounded. Lin Feng immediately smiled. As expected, as he condensed the soul heart and gained the ability to control, his movement techniques naturally rose from the level to the realm. Just like the quality of his body, it was an essential transformation. First level, 1,000 starlight points every hour. Second level, 2,000 starlight points every hour. Third level, the voice calmly sounded. 7 light doors gradually appeared in front of Lin Feng, emitting a bright light. Lin Feng let out a long breath. The intermediate training space's sacred palace was indeed much cheaper. With only 1/10 of the price of the Mizar Hall, he could definitely raise his realm of movement to an extremely high level. Very quickly, the voice stopped. Lin Feng's eyes were only left with the 7 resplendent light doors. But suddenly Lin Feng was stunned. An inexplicable thought suddenly appeared in his mind. He was extremely puzzled. Isn't this ancient ruin also a product of the Douling world? But why is the voice here speaking the language of the Sky Martial Continent? Lin Feng was stunned. A huge question mark appeared in his mind. Without a doubt, The Do Ling world had its own unique language, including the 2 secret manuals, the Golden Dragon Aura Technique and Aurora. Including the voice of the martial artists he heard in the alternate world, it was completely different from the Sky Martial Continent. Logically speaking, the voice here should be the language of the Do Ling world. He should not be able to understand it at all. But, it's too strange. Lin Feng kept shaking his head. If not for the 2 secret manuals, he would not have discovered this secret. And that, martial god tempering, there seems to be a huge secret hidden here. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. There was a conflict before and after. Even if I know, what's the use? Lin Feng shook his head. Just like the secret on his father's body, he was also unable to know the answer to the secret here. Only when he had enough strength, all the mysteries would be revealed. After letting out a long breath, Lin Feng immediately threw away all the distracting thoughts. He stepped into the first light door. I'm ashamed there's a guest at home, so I've postponed the update. I won't stay up all night, my body can't take it. I'll make up for it tomorrow morning. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Qidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 222. In an empty and chaotic space, Lin Feng floated in the air with his eyes closed. His mind's eye spread out around his body. Countless beams of white light shot into the air like shooting stars, piercing through the air like sharp arrows, making swishing noises. Lin Feng was like a nimble butterfly, shuttling through the flowers. The feeling of control followed him like a shadow. His body movements gave him an illusory feeling. The realm of movement technique is actually an increase in the ability to control. Lin Feng thought to himself. After walking through the void passage and becoming a titled martial god, he was already independent of the environment through control. Compared to the original body technique, the level of movement technique depended on the use of the environment. The increase in movement technique realm returned to the origin: speed, agility, and the ability to control. It's very difficult. However, it feels very good. Lin Feng's face revealed an excited expression. Although his body would be penetrated by the white lights every moment, it was as if the enemy's attacks were landing on his body one after another. However, Lin Feng didn't feel tired at all. He focused on the cultivation of his movement technique and enjoyed this happiness. Ding, a clear sound rang in his ears. Hit 13936 times, failure. Do you want to start again? Yes. Lin Feng answered without hesitation. His eyes were shining. Failure was nothing, which success wasn't built on countless failures. Soon, as the white lights lit up one after another, a new round of movement technique training began. Immersed in it, Lin Feng was soon fascinated. Hit 11688 times, failure. Hit 11,422 times, failure. Hit 9,998 times, failure. In exchange for each failure, he gained valuable experience. Every round of movement technique training, failure to comprehend, he could always learn a lot. He grew from failure. Ding, a clear sound rang in his ears. Hit 7,990 times, failure. Do you want to start again? No. Lin Feng shook his head. His voice sounded a little tired, a kind of mental exhaustion. At the end of each round of movement training, his body would be restored to its peak state and ready for cultivation. However, anyone who had continuously cultivated for 10 days and 10 nights would eventually feel tired. A total of 120 hours. I finally broke through the 8,000 mark, Lin Feng said with a smile. Although it was still a huge number, there was an obvious improvement in the realm of his movement technique. His reaction to attacks, his dodging ability, and his control ability had all risen to a whole new level. The key is that I'm still not familiar with this fighting method. No matter what, the increase in strength is always visible. Lin Feng smiled. Looking at the starlight points displayed on the dragon's star seal, he felt helpless. 120 hours. Based on the ratio of 100, 1 in the intermediate cultivation space, it only took 2 hours in the real world. However, it consumed more than 120,000 starlight points. It doesn't seem to be any less than Mizar Hall. Lin Feng smiled bitterly. Cultivation in the Mizar Hall was expensive, but progress was fast. It only took him more than 20 hours to break through the first level. However, in the Migres Hall, he spent 120 hours, but the effect was not obvious. Perhaps I'm not good at movement technique, Lin Feng muttered. There were different levels of cultivation talent. Lin Feng was very clear about this point. It was like how some people were good at spear training, some people were good at saber training, and some people were good at sword training. After breaking through to the titled martial god realm, there were 2 paths for martial artists to choose from: Sky Martial Artist or Sky Deity Realm. Many times the consciousness can react, but the body cannot. Lin Feng sighed. Perhaps my foundation is not enough. I must strengthen the cultivation of my body. With that thought, Lin Feng had already left the Migres Hall. Just as he was about to leave, Lin Feng was suddenly startled. Continuously cultivating in the Mizar Hall and the Migres Hall, I seem to have forgotten in the advanced cultivation space, there is still the last sacred palace. Lin Feng could not help but shake his head. He remembered every time, but once he entered the cultivation state, he would immediately forget everything. Too engrossed. Let's go and take a look. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. The 7 sacred palaces each had their own duties. 6 of the sacred palaces, other than the different colors, their appearance and structure were almost the same. The large palaces that looked like they were carved out of jade were like pieces of art, filled with the aura of a celestial realm. Only this last purple sacred palace seemed to be made of gold. The golden light was dazzling, as if it seemed a little tacky. It was very tall and majestic. Compared to the other sacred palaces, this golden sacred palace that was filled with purple light appeared incomparably tall. It was as if it reflected its status. The last sacred palace, the most special one. I wonder what surprises there will be. Lin Feng smiled faintly. Soon after, he stepped into the cave with anticipation. Hua, a beautiful light flashed before his eyes. In an instant, Lin Feng seemed to have entered a beautiful world, colorful and colorful. Looking at it, he saw a dazzling golden light. All kinds of sculptures made of golden glass were scattered everywhere. There were a total of 7 passages in front of him, flashing with rainbow colors. They were filled with bright halos, forming deep passages. Welcome to Alcade Palace. A pleasant voice gently sounded. Lin Feng looked around curiously, as if he understood something. The feeling this place gave him was very different from the other sacred palaces. When the other 6 sacred palaces entered, they all had a feeling of fighting spirit. But here, Alcade Palace is divided into 7 sub-palaces. The voice sounded again. Lin Feng couldn't help but listen carefully. The red light is the weapon palace, the orange light is the armor palace, the yellow light is the secret manual palace, the green light is the divine fruit palace, the blue light is the spiritual treasure palace, the indigo light is the miscellaneous palace, and the purple light is the starlight palace. Apart from the starlight palace, the other 6 palaces can be entered to buy what you need. Lin Feng was stunned. Purchase? So this Alcade Palace isn't a cultivation sacred palace. Lin Feng thought. This place seems to be something similar to the martial god auction house. Looking at the 7 rainbow passages, Lin Feng's eyes flashed. After a slight hesitation, he stepped into the passage illuminated by the blue light, Spiritual Treasure Palace. The blue light flashed. Lin Feng entered a mysterious space. It was bright and colorful, magnificent and magnificent. Balls of light floated in the air. They were as thin as mist. One could clearly see the spiritual treasures in the balls of light. They were like little lives, quietly residing within. Lin Feng looked at one of the fan-shaped spiritual treasures. Its structure was very strange. There were small words outside the ball of light. It seemed to be introducing the use and name of the fan-shaped spiritual treasure. However, Lin Feng couldn't understand it. It was the words of the Do Ling world again. I can see it everywhere. Lin Feng clicked his tongue helplessly. However, compared to the heavenly book of the secret manual, the introduction of the spiritual treasure was very simple. It didn't seem complicated. Below the introduction, there was a shining star and a string of numbers. 12,000? Lin Feng pondered. This should be the price of the spiritual treasure? Lin Feng reacted quickly. But what does this star represent? With doubts, Lin Feng looked at the other spiritual treasures. What he saw seemed to be shining with a star. The price was above 10,000 starlight points. Lin Feng made a sound and walked forward. Suddenly, his eyes brightened. It was a black shuttle-shaped object. It emitted a faint metallic luster. Thunder light shuttles? Lin Feng was surprised. The aura of the spiritual treasure was exactly the same. He recognized it. It was the offensive treasure that Yin Long obtained from the martial god auction house. It's worth 10,000 starlight points? Lin Feng pondered and smiled. The treasures that can enter the martial god auction house are at least 10 heavenly treasure points. In other words, 10,000 starlight points are equivalent to 10 heavenly treasure points. I have 20 million starlight points. Doesn't that mean 20,000 heavenly treasure points? Lin Feng's eyes lit up. And this was only in terms of 10 heavenly treasure points. Obviously, the value of the Thunder Light shuttles was far more than 10 heavenly treasure points. It seems like I'm not that poor. Lin Feng chuckled and continued walking forward. The spiritual treasures around were all priced between 10,000 and 20,000 starlight points. Although there were a few tens of thousands of starlight points, there were very few of them. There were many varieties. Lin Feng was dazzled and shocked. Oh my God, how many spiritual treasures are there? A few 100,000? Or a few million? Lin Feng shook his head and didn't count. However, although there were many spiritual treasures, with the spread of his mind's eye, it was like reading 10 lines at a glance. He could feel everything clearly. As he walked forward, Lin Feng moved his body slightly. What he saw was a gourd-shaped spiritual treasure. Although he couldn't understand the small words of introduction, the price had increased tremendously. However, there was a huge leap in price. 100,000 starlight points. The price had increased by a full 10 times. Most importantly, there were now 2 shining stars under the introduction. This price increase is really terrifying. Lin Feng thought to himself. He could still easily handle the spiritual treasures in front. However, the spiritual treasures here were already pressuring him. And it seemed like, in front of him, Lin Feng could faintly feel the aura of a stronger spiritual treasure. Let's go and take a look. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. His heart was filled with curiosity. Flying at high speed, Lin Feng instantly turned into a ray of light and quickly passed through the area of 2-star spiritual treasures. As expected, the level of the spiritual treasures in front of him had increased again. It had increased from 2 stars to 3 stars. As for the price, it had also changed from 100,000 starlight points to starting from 1 million starlight points. Phew, Lin Feng let out a long breath. It's quite expensive. Lin Feng's eyes flickered. Obviously, the spiritual treasures here were of a higher level than before. It seems like the stars represent the level of the spiritual treasures. Lin Feng easily deduced. In fact, it wasn't hard to guess from the clues. With bright eyes, Lin Feng walked forward. Looking at the spiritual treasures that were exuding unique auras, his heart was filled with joy. These spiritual treasures seem to have a very strong power. It's a pity that I don't know which one is more suitable for me. Lin Feng sighed. Otherwise, spending 1,000,000 starlight points to buy a spiritual treasure that could greatly increase one's strength might not be a bad thing. As he walked and looked, Lin Feng felt as though he had entered a field of flowers. He was mesmerized by the flowers. Suddenly, Lin Feng exclaimed softly. His eyes lit up as he looked at one of the light balls and stopped. To make up for yesterday's third update, there are 3 more updates today. Brothers and sisters, a new week, please vote. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 223. It was a teardrop-shaped jade stone. It was soft like water and emitted a faint luster. Heart protection talisman? Lin Feng said in surprise. If there was a spiritual treasure that he was most familiar with, it would be none other than this. It was the second-grade reward that he had obtained during the intermediate apprentice examination. Previously, it had saved his life in a near-death situation. If it wasn't for it, he would have died in Ziluan's hands. 1,000,000 starlight points, a 3-star spiritual treasure. Lin Feng gazed at it with a dazzling luster in his eyes. It wasn't expensive. After all, it was a treasure that could save his life. I didn't expect the heart protection talisman to be a 3-star spiritual treasure. As a first-grade reward, the aurora all must be of a higher grade. Lin Feng's eyes brightened as a strong curiosity arose in his heart. He really wanted to know how powerful the aurora all was. It should be in the weapon palace. Lin Feng muttered to himself. Gazing over, this spiritual treasure palace seemed to be boundless and had countless spiritual treasures hidden within. I wonder what the strongest spiritual treasure would be. Lin Feng muttered to himself. Soon after, he transformed into a ray of light and rushed forward. With his full speed, Lin Feng quickly passed through the 3-star spiritual treasure area. 4-star spiritual treasure. The starting price was 10,000,000 starlight points. Lin Feng sucked in a cold breath. For every increase in star level, the price of the spiritual treasure would increase by 10 times. Lin Feng exclaimed in surprise. However, he also knew that these spiritual treasures definitely had their own value. The aura of a 4-star spiritual treasure was even more intense. It contained abundant energy and made one's heart tremble. Moving forward, Lin Feng's eyes glowed. He really wanted to know where the limit of the spiritual treasure palace was. So, he sped past. Lin Feng's expression was slightly excited. He wanted to see what kind of existence a 5-star spiritual treasure or even a 6-star spiritual treasure was. That feeling was as if he wanted to admire a divine weapon. However, Lin Feng was disappointed. At the end of the 5-star spirit treasure, there was a blue light screen blocking his path. Only 1-star to 4-star spiritual treasures? Lin Feng thought to himself and shook his head. Behind the blue light curtain, he could faintly sense an even more powerful energy aura, but the blue light curtain was like a door, blocking him in the middle. He did not have that key. Is it because I'm not strong enough? Lin Feng thought to himself. Or Lin Feng inadvertently glanced at the dragon star seal. Instantly, he understood and nodded. It should be because I don't have enough starlight points. If the starting price of a 5-star spirit treasure was 100,000,000 starlight points, he would not be able to afford it since he did not even have 18,000,000 starlight points left. No wonder he was rejected. Weapon Hall. Just like the Spirit Treasure Palace, the Weapon Palace was also filled with all kinds of treasures. However, the Weapon Hall was clearly divided into 2 parts. On the left side were some sabers, swords, spears and other weapons. Although he could not understand their descriptions, their star seemed to be the same as the Spirit Treasure Palace. And the weapons on the right side were completely different from the ones on the left. The biggest difference was the size. The weapons on the right side were usually smaller. The smallest one was not even a centimeter in diameter. There were also long and thin needle-shaped weapons. They were not even a millimeter in width, but the terrifying cold light at the tip emitted a crystal purple color. With one look, one could tell that they were not ordinary weapons. The weapons on the right side should be spirit practitioner weapons, right? Lin Feng walked and looked around. After seeing so many weapons, he naturally had a competition in his heart. Many of the weapons had the same effect as the Aurora all. It seems that the weapons on the left side should be spirit practitioner weapons. Lin Feng smiled and walked while looking around. Suddenly, his mind's eye sensed something. What a familiar aura! Lin Feng was shocked. He looked at one of the light balls on the right side. Although it was blocked by the light curtain, he could still feel the strong fire. It was like a burning sun, full of energy. It's definitely a fire spirit practitioner weapon. Lin Feng's eyes brightened. In comparison, the thunder fire ring that he was wearing was at a disadvantage. 1-star weapon worth 15,000 starlight points. Lin Feng smiled indifferently. It was very cheap, but it was much better than the thunder fire ring that he had spent 5 treasure points to buy. No rush, Lin Feng said softly. After walking through the Spirit Treasure Palace, he could deduce many things from one example. Obviously, after the 1-star weapon, there were 2-star weapons, 3-star weapons, and even higher-level existences. Spirit treasures are auxiliary, but weapons are the lifeblood of a warrior. Lin Feng nodded. His eyes brightened. With my current starlight points, I can definitely buy a 3-star spear and a fire spirit practitioner weapon. Even if he could not understand the description, the essence of the weapon would not change. Just like the fireball just now, he could completely feel the hot energy from it. 2 3-star weapons only cost around 2 million starlight points. I can afford it. Lin Feng's eyes brightened. Good steel should be used on the blade. Starlight points were naturally used to increase one's strength. Speeding forward, Lin Feng quickly passed through the 2-star weapon region and entered the 3-star weapon region. In this region, where each weapon was worth more than 1 million starlight points, the feeling was completely different. If it was the 1-star weapon region, the energy that seeped out from the light ball was only a little bit. Now, it was the surging waves that moved the sparrow in his heart. Such a strong aura! Lin Feng took a deep breath. Using his mind's eye, Lin Feng slowly moved forward, searching for the existence that he could sense the most. Slowly searching, Lin Feng was not in a hurry. With a time ratio of 1001, he had enough time to choose properly. After all, 1 million starlight points was not a small amount. Along the way, there were fluorescent fire wands, emerald green bracelets, totem-engraved headbands, eye-patch-like lenses, and metal objects in the shape of demonic beasts. The soul practitioner weapons were divided into different categories. The types were complex and varied. Lin Feng had never seen most of them before. However, the weapons of Sky Spirit Masters were easy to distinguish. The weapons of Fire Spirit Masters would definitely have the energy of fire. The weapons of Water Spirit Masters would definitely have the energy of water. Although I don't know which type is more suitable for me, since they are all 3-star weapons, there shouldn't be too much of a difference. Lin Feng muttered to himself, regardless of the other functions, at the very least, I should choose the one with the strongest fire energy. Lin Feng had already made up his mind. He shuttled through the dazzling array of weapons. Over and over again, he carefully examined them. Finally, this is it. Lin Feng's gaze landed on a mini fire spirit beast. It was a demonic beast with horns on its head and flaming scales all over its body. It was very mini, just like a sculpture. One could control it with one hand. It had a dragon-like head with 2 thin and long whiskers. Its eyes were bright and full of expression. It had 4 limbs like a small tiger. The energy of fire was relatively strong. 3-star spirit weapon. Price, 2 million starlight points. His right hand touched the light ball. Immediately, a ding sound rang in his mind. Do you want to purchase the Qilin fire centipede? Yes. Lin Feng's eyes were burning. He did not hesitate. As the starlight points on the dragon's star seal were deducted, the sound of purchase successful rang in his ears. The light barrier disappeared in a split second. The fire spirit beast that was like a sculpture seemed to have come alive. Its eyes emitted a chilling light that caused one's heart to tremble. Its aura increased by several folds. What a shocking aura! Lin Feng revealed an excited expression. In front of this Qilin fire centipede, the thunder fire ring was like an insignificant existence. It was like the difference between a dog and a lion. It was completely incomparable. You get what you pay for. Lin Feng smiled indifferently. Picking up the Qilin fire centipede, Lin Feng muttered to himself, I wonder how strong it will be? It was a perfect supplement to his strength. He was looking forward to it. It was easy to choose a spirit weapon, but it was not easy to choose a spear. Lin Feng was at his wits' end. He could not understand the words above the introduction. He could not test it like he did in the martial god auction house. Every spear here looked very special. However, he did not know what kind of characteristics they had and what kind of power they could unleash. Seems like it won't be easy. Lin Feng smiled helplessly. As he walked forward, Lin Feng did not pay too much attention to it. Anyway, he already had the dragon-killing spear. He did not have much desire for a spear. At the very least, this dragon-killing spear is quite eye-catching. Lin Feng smiled. With his mind's eye, he saw tens of thousands of spears. Perhaps in terms of material and grade, they were all better than the dragon-killing spear. However, he still lacked a certain feeling. The realm of spear arts, the unity of man and spear, was about a kind of compatibility with the spear. It was just like the origin energy. If there was no feeling, the spear intent would naturally be hard to unleash. Just as he was thinking, suddenly, Lin Feng felt an indescribable sense of familiarity. His face was immediately stunned. With a shift of his body, Lin Feng instantly arrived at the place where his mind's eye sensed. He stared at the pure black long spear in front of him. The pitch-black color seemed to be filled with a devouring power. There were no patterns, but it seemed to have a natural domineering aura. Dragon-killing spear. Lin Feng was stunned. He never thought that he would see the dragon-killing spear here. Lin Feng opened his eyes wide as if his eyes were playing tricks on him. It was indeed a 3-star weapon. Price: 1,300,000 starlight point. It was even more expensive than the Qilin fire centipede. It can't be? Lin Feng was unable to react. He immediately pulled out the dragon-killing spear from his back. After carefully comparing it, regardless of the length, width, color, or even the feeling of familiarity, everything was exactly the same. It was as if they were made from the same mold. Oh my God! Lin Feng was completely stunned. He never thought that the dragon-killing spear that he had been using all this time would have such a huge secret. A 3-star weapon. But the dragon-killing spear doesn't seem to be special? Lin Feng frowned slightly. After using the dragon-killing spear for such a long time, Lin Feng was very familiar with it. Apart from the connection between him and the spear, the dragon-killing spear was only slightly heavier. There was nothing special about it. Immediately, Lin Feng sank into deep thought. It was obvious that the dragon-killing spear had its secret. Otherwise, how could it be a 3-star weapon? Since the price was clearly stated, the ancient ruins naturally wouldn't lie. There was only one possibility left. He was still unable to truly use the dragon-killing spear. Phew, Lin Feng let out a long breath. What was the secret behind it? To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Qidien.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 224. With this huge question, Lin Feng no longer had the intention to stroll around. He sped forward and searched every inch of the 4-star weapons area, but he didn't find the Aurora All. The grade of the Aurora All is actually higher than 4-star? Lin Feng was extremely shocked. He didn't expect that a small Aurora All would be worth more than his entire fortune. It was at least 5-star. In other words, it was worth more than 100 million starlight points. The first-class reward is indeed extraordinary. Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat. But the Aurora All needed the help of the secret manual, Aurora, and he couldn't understand the words of the Douling world. This feeling of having a treasure but not being able to use it, it was terrible. Coupled with the introduction text on the Alcade Palace, Lin Feng was now extremely eager to learn the words of the Douling world. He wanted to know everything, broaden his horizons, and grasp knowledge. However, he didn't know where to start. He immediately sighed. Indeed, he was unwilling to accept this. Shaking his head, Lin Feng's eyes suddenly lit up, and he slapped his head. Yes, I don't know it, but it doesn't mean that others don't know it. Lin Feng's eyes revealed a hint of surprise. Since father knows about the Douling world, knows about the existence of the ancient ruins, and has secret manuals like Secret of Soul and treasures like Cloud Shuttles, it's very likely that he knows the words of the Douling world. I'm so stupid. Lin Feng smiled blankly. I always like to go into a dead end by myself. There's no time to lose. Let's go find father immediately. Lin Feng revealed a carefree smile and then disappeared. Being independent since young made Lin Feng more persistent and less reliant on others. He liked to silently shoulder everything by himself. Just like the path of a warrior, he walked alone. After leaving the training base, Lin Feng turned on the fluorescent compass, and a beep sound immediately rang. Looking at that familiar name, the purple figure that haunted Lin Feng's dreams surfaced in his mind. His heart felt sweet, and he immediately felt a deep warmth. Lin Feng immediately dialed the number. Although it was just an ordinary conversation, there was an indescribable sense of satisfaction in his heart. It was not a passionate love, but a kind of warmth that would last for a long time. There was a kind of plain romance of holding hands and growing old together. Ziyao, Lin Feng said softly. On the other end of the communicator, a soft nasal voice made Lin Feng's heart skip a beat. Wait for me. Wait for the beast riot to end, then marry me. Lin Feng's voice was very firm, and his eyes were filled with determination. From the day he faced the beast riot alone in Cloud Sun City, he had already made up his mind. Perhaps with his power, he would be able to escape with his family. Even if the Martial Heaven continent was destroyed, they would still have a chance to survive. However, there was no Martial Heaven continent, no human home. Even if they could survive, was it still a home? Thinking of the Cloud Sun City, those unarmed civilians, thinking of those innocent people, Lin Feng's heart was inextricably linked, and it was difficult to calm down. The voice was very soft, very light. Ziyao said softly, Lin Degu, can we wait until that day? Definitely. Lin Feng's voice was sonorous. He would use all his strength to protect the people around him, protect his home, and protect everyone. Even if he was just an ordinary person, even if he might fail. But what was flowing in his body was hot blood. What was beating in his chest was the heart of a man. Deputy City Lord Mansion. Father. Lin Feng called softly. Lin Xiaotian sipped his tea and said slowly, What's the trouble, Feng? Lin Xiaotian was very clear about his son's character. If he did not encounter something that could not be solved, he would not come to him. Lin Feng smiled and knew that he could not hide it from his father. Taking out the secret book, Aurora, from his arms, Lin Feng handed it over. Looking at the quaint black book in front of him, Lin Xiaotian was surprised. Feng, you got the Aurora all? Lin Feng's eyes suddenly showed a touch of joy. As he expected, his father not only knew the words of the Douling world, but also knew the soul weapon Aurora all. Just, his father's expression seemed a little unusual, but he did not know why. Yes, father. Lin Feng took out the Aurora all, the bright diamond-shaped metal piece was sparkling. Because you don't know the words? Lin Xiaotian pointed to the Aurora all and smiled indifferently. Lin Feng scratched his head and could not help but smile. Lin Xiaotian said thoughtfully, "Have you entered the Arcade Hall?" "Yes." Lin Feng looked at his father in surprise. Lin Xiaotian looked over and said softly, "How many starlight points are there, Feng-er?" "There are 16 million starlight points left." Lin Feng answered truthfully. Naturally, he did not need to hide it from his father. Lin Xiaotian nodded and muttered, "Go to the miscellaneous hall, and buy a translator or learn the words of the Douling world." Lin Xiaotian raised his head and said lightly, "Choose one, Feng-er." Lin Feng hummed softly. He was not familiar with this. "Father, what do you think?" Lin Xiaotian's eyes shone slightly. "Go down the path that you think is right." Carefully pondering his father's meaningful words, Lin Feng nodded and looked at his father. "Father, you want to tell me that whether it is right or wrong, I have to learn to choose my own path." Lin Feng suddenly remembered that he had been practicing martial arts and cultivation since he was young. No matter what he did, his father had never interfered with him. It was like an eagle hovering in the sky, watching its chicks grow up, learn to hunt and learn how to fly. "I want to learn the words of the Douling world," Lin Feng said solemnly. Instantly, a bright light flashed in his father's eyes. Lin Feng's heart trembled. Suddenly, a thick book appeared in his mind. It had a light gold cover, and there were 4 words that he didn't recognize on the cover. Obviously, it was the words of the Douling world. Douling Word Book, 1 volume of 10 books, a total of 100,000 starlight points. Lin Xiaotian's voice rang in his ears. Lin Feng was suddenly awakened. The memory from earlier still remained in his mind and was very clear. Lin Feng hummed softly and nodded. "Father's strength is so strong." Lin Feng was shocked again. Endless methods and secret skills were like an inexhaustible treasure trove. Weapons have spirits. You can use it by dripping blood on it. Lin Xiaotian said softly. "Yes, father." Lin Feng's eyes lit up. He suddenly understood. No wonder he felt a little unfamiliar when he controlled the Aurora all. However, he was extremely familiar with the Origin Fireball. He could control it like a shadow. So this was the difference. After leaving his father's room, Lin Feng was not in a hurry to enter the Arcade Hall. Instead, he entered the cultivation room. He was not in a hurry to learn the words of the Douling world. What he wanted to know the most was what he had just spent 1.2 million starlight points to buy. Qilin Fire Centipede, a 3-star spirit warrior weapon. This was a miniature demonic beast that looked like a sculpture. Lin Feng held it in his hand and studied it carefully. The aura of the fire energy was relatively strong. It had a dragon-like head and its eyes were bright and full of spirit. It felt as though it was alive and real. Would there be such a small demonic beast? Lin Feng smiled curiously. Muttering in his heart, Lin Feng's right hand gently slit his fingertip. Instantly, a drop of blood dripped down. Patter! Instantly, red light shone brightly. When it landed on the Qilin Fire Centipede, a solitary aura spread out. Lin Feng, who was holding the Qilin Fire Centipede, suddenly felt an extreme heat. His eyes widened and his heart of soul spun rapidly. The strange energy of heaven and earth spread out around his body and instantly connected with the Qilin Fire Centipede. There was a feeling of joy, as though they were connected by blood. It was as though it had become a part of his body. Instantly, under Lin Feng's gaze, the Qilin Fire Centipede seemed to be invisible and strangely drilled into the palm of his left hand. The feeling of being connected to the heart filled his mind. A familiar and intimate feeling arose in his heart. Instantly, the red light shone brightly and his left hand was completely covered. It was as though it was covered in a layer of faint blood light. It was extremely terrifying. However, it was just like a layer of new clothes. It merely covered his hand. Hua, the red light gradually faded. Lin Feng looked at his left hand and his eyes shone brightly. On the back of his left hand, a roaring dragon head slowly appeared. The long horns and two thin strands of hair were exactly the miniature demonic beast from before. It was vivid and lifelike. Especially those bright eyes, they were incomparably lively. Compared to before, there was an additional layer of bloodlight that made one's heart tremble. It was as though it had truly come alive. What a strange feeling! Lin Feng was incomparably amazed. However, in an instant, he felt an uncomfortable feeling in his mind. The Qilin fire centipede that had merged into his left hand was like a child throwing a tantrum. Lin Feng was slightly startled. He looked over and suddenly understood. He took off the thunder fire ring. Indeed, the Qilin fire centipede was satisfied and quieted down. It was no longer noisy. It was as though a mountain couldn't accommodate two tigers. Lin Feng couldn't help but laugh. Soon after, he wore the thunder fire ring on his right hand. It was extremely exclusive. I wonder how powerful it is. Lin Feng nodded and his eyes brightened. His soul heart moved. Immediately, a spiral of heaven and earth energy formed outside his body. In the blink of an eye, it connected with the Qilin fire centipede. In an instant, a ray of resplendent primordial fire suddenly appeared. The sensitivity of the primordial fire increased once again. Lin Feng was extremely shocked. The deep green color was filled with a feeling of power. Compared to the jade-green primordial fire amplified by the thunder fire ring, it was like heaven and earth. They couldn't be compared at all. However, this wasn't what shocked Lin Feng. What truly shocked Lin Feng was, it was the feeling of life within the primordial fire. My God, this can't be the origin of fire, right? Lin Feng was completely shocked. He never would have thought that this Qilin fire centipede didn't need to rely on the heart of the origin. It could produce the origin of fire on its own. It was incomparably shocking. The second update has arrived, sad, it's 12 o'clock again, there's one more update left. Continue to struggle at to be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian.com to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 225. Lin Feng was deeply shocked. He didn't expect this 3-star weapon to be so ridiculously strong. Only by condensing the heart of the origin of fire could be produced, but it appeared purely by relying on an external object. 2 million starlight points, it's really worth it. Lin Feng's eyes brightened. He didn't expect that he couldn't understand the introduction and only judged based on the strength of the fire energy. Instead, he chose a weapon that was extremely suitable for him. It was the will of the heavens. If the Qilin fire puppet was used by a warrior who had already condensed the origin of fire, the effect would be greatly reduced. But for him, it was just right. With the addition of the origin of fire, his strength would increase greatly. Bang! Bang! The dark green origin fire kept emitting, and Lin Feng felt a deep power. Combined with the origin of fire, the fireball's power was more than 10 times stronger than before. If I already had the Qilin fire puppet when I fought with Zhu Pudi that day. Lin Feng smiled indifferently. With just one fireball, he could completely destroy all of his defenses. This was the power of the origin of fire. Indeed, the difference between having a weapon and not having one is too big. Lin Feng thought to himself and couldn't help but shake his head. Suddenly, Lin Feng's eyes lit up, and he immediately thought of his dragon-slaying spear. It was also a 3-star weapon. The Qilin fire puppet emitted light, but the dragon-slaying spear was like a sleeping dragon that hadn't awakened. What exactly was missing? Lin Feng's eyes flickered and suddenly they shone. Yes, blood. The fusion of weapons required blood to be forged and activated. Lin Feng took the dragon-slaying spear, and his right hand touched the deep black body of the spear. A faint, familiar feeling rose in his body. The tip of the spear touched the finger of his right hand, and with a chi sound, a drop of blood merged into the spear. Lin Feng's eyes slowly lit up. He waited for the change, and waited for the result. But 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. After waiting for 10 seconds, there was still no reaction. The dragon-slaying spear was like a giant dragon that had been asleep for 10,000 years. It was impossible to wake it up. Lin Feng frowned slightly. Suddenly, that's not right. The Dragonslayer's spear has been used to kill. It has been stained with the blood of enemies. Lin Feng shook his head, his eyes bright. If it needs blood to activate, it should have reacted a long time ago. Moreover, Tianqing didn't specifically mention it that day, so it's obviously not the case. Lin Feng thought for a moment and suddenly smiled. If it was so easy to unravel the secret of the dragon-killing spear, it wouldn't have been sold at such a cheap price in the martial god auction house. Only 6 heavenly treasure points. It was ridiculously cheap, compared to the enormous amount of 1.3 million starlight points in the Arcade Hall. It was simply the difference between heaven and earth. Clearly, the dragon-killing spear's greatest characteristic as a 3-star weapon was deeply hidden. No one in the Tianwu continent knew about it. That's right, the weapon hall. Lin Feng's eyes brightened. As long as I learn the language of the Douling world, I will be able to understand the weapon's introduction. Lin Feng nodded heavily. When the time comes, I will definitely be able to peek at the profundity of the weapon. There was no time to lose. As soon as he thought of it, he immediately did it. Lin Feng opened the dragon's star seal and instantly disappeared. In a high-grade cultivation space, Lin Feng sat cross-legged on a huge white cloud. In front of him was a set of thick and heavy books with golden covers. They gave off a holy feeling. On the cover, there were 4 large golden words that were filled with a soaring aura. Although Lin Feng didn't recognize them, he knew what they were: Douling Word Book. There were 10 books in one volume, each worth 100,000 starlight points. It's exactly the same as what father said. Lin Feng thought to himself. Clearly, his father was much more familiar with the Arcade Hall than him. After deducting this 100,000, there are less than 16 million starlight points left. Lin Feng looked at the dragon's star seal and sighed softly. At first, he thought that 20 million starlight points was a lot. However, when he really used it, he felt powerless. He could use it anywhere. However, he didn't know how to use the remaining 16 million starlight points. That was the biggest improvement to his strength. The most efficient. It's a pity that father let me choose. Lin Feng nodded. However, he could understand his father's thoughts. A true expert must learn how to choose. He had to learn how to walk the path of a powerhouse. First, I have to understand this Douling word book, and learn the language of the Douling world. Lin Feng's eyes brightened. Perhaps self-study was very difficult, but, in this 1,000:1 ratio, he had enough time to study this Douling word book. Lin Feng looked at it very slowly and meticulously. He wasn't in a hurry. The key was to understand, comprehend, and understand clearly. Even if I enter the Douling world in the future, I will be able to integrate immediately. Lin Feng was very clear. His father's roots and his own background were definitely related to the Douling world. Learning this language was very important for his future path. Lin Feng read the first book for 30 hours. Lin Feng read the second book for 40 hours. From the third book onwards, Lin Feng read faster and faster. It was just like a building that had its foundation laid. Lin Feng, who had a strong comprehension ability to begin with, quickly finished reading the entire Douling word book in a short 100 hours. Read it again. Lin Feng's eyes brightened. He wasn't afraid of trouble, nor was he afraid of tiredness. What he wanted was to strive for perfection. If a mistake in one word or phrase leads to a mistake in the entire cultivation process, it will be terrible. Lin Feng nodded. Since I'm going to do it, I'll do my best and do it perfectly. The second time, Lin Feng had already understood many of the unfamiliar parts. The third time, Lin Feng almost cleared all the doubts in his mind, reviewing the old and learning the new. The fourth time, the fifth time, until he closed his eyes, he could completely see the words and understand everything clearly in his mind. Only then did Lin Feng stop. At this moment, he finally finished reading this Do Ling word book. Entering the weapon hall again, the feeling was completely different. The unfamiliar feeling was gone, and the various weapons in front of him added a touch of color. So the weapons on the left are actually divided into two categories, used by martial gods and used by fighters. Lin Feng muttered softly. Father once said that heavenly deities are divided into heavenly spirit masters and heavenly soul masters. It seems like heavenly martial artists are divided into martial gods and fighters. After a pause, Lin Feng seemed to have thought of something. Suddenly, his eyes lit up. In Tianwu continent, there doesn't seem to be any fighters. There were only titled martial gods. I wonder if the dragon killing spear is a martial god weapon or a fighter weapon. Lin Feng pondered for a moment and rushed forward. He was looking forward to what kind of surprise this dragon killing spear would bring him. Soon, got it. He found the dragon killing spear again. Looking at the introduction outside the ball of light, Lin Feng could easily understand it. Dragon killing spear, fighter weapon, made with wood steel as the main material, after 49 days of refinement. It seemed like there was nothing special about it. Lin Feng frowned slightly. He carefully read it 2 more times, savoring the words and comprehending them. The crux of the matter was that fighter. Obviously, if I can solve the mystery of the fighter, I can solve the secret of the dragon-killing spear. Lin Feng thought. But he didn't care too much. All his thoughts were on the Aurora All and the secret manual Aurora. It was a weapon that surpassed the 4th rank. It could be said to be a priceless treasure. After retreating from the Dragon Star Seal, Lin Feng immediately went into the training room. Lin Feng couldn't wait to flip open the secret manual Aurora. It was just the first page, but it already shocked Lin Feng. Aurora is a secret manual unique to the 6-star spirit practitioner weapon Aurora All. The Aurora All is one of the spirit creator weapons of my Lin clan. It can only display its true power when used with the secret manual Aurora. Using the Aurora All, my Lin clansmen can kill enemies above their level. Even if they are only at the apprentice level, they can kill beginner star level enemies. God, it was actually a 6-star spirit practitioner weapon. Lin Feng's eyes shone with incomparable joy. He originally thought that a 5-star spirit practitioner weapon was already quite amazing. But he didn't expect it to be even stronger. One must know that the difference between stars was extremely large. This point, just by looking at the price, was already very clear. Moreover, with the strength of an apprentice level, if they could kill beginner star-level existences, that would be too shocking. If it's true, then it's too heaven-defying. Lin Feng was shocked. The difference between each level was extremely large. Just like when he was the strongest Emperor Wu, even if he was facing the weakest titled martial god, Ziluan, he still suffered a crushing defeat. And the Aurora All's power could actually surpass an entire level. How could he not be shocked? Continuing to flip the pages, the Aurora All is a purely offensive weapon. It is made up of 64 Aurora pieces. It can be broken down, combined, and has endless changes. 7 forms, 7 types of attack. The stronger the soul heart, the stronger the forms that can be controlled. Using the soul heart as the main axis to control, This was the origin of the spirit practitioner weapon. Powerful. Too powerful. Lin Feng flipped through the pages one by one. Aside from the brief introduction, the Aurora All manual focused on the training of the 7 forms. Any one of the forms required a certain amount of soul force to be able to train, and these 7 forms, each one was stronger than the previous one. If he could train the 7th form, Aurora All, when the 64 Aurora pieces were released, they would form a terrifying attack that covered the sky. It would be completely invincible. Train. Lin Feng didn't say anything else and immediately began to read carefully. He looked at the frightening destructive power of the Aurora All. How could Lin Feng not be moved? But at this moment, beep, a clear sound rang beside him. Lin Feng's training was immediately interrupted. He looked at the fluorescent compass, which was emitting a faint light. He had set up 3 numbers that could be called directly. His brother, Zi Yao, and Fang Ning. Obviously, something had happened. Third update: after riding through the night, the sun actually rose. I fainted. @ to be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Qidien.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 226. Zi Yao. Lin Feng was surprised. He had an appointment with Zi Yao. If she was calling at this time, it must be something must have happened. Was it a good thing or a bad thing? Lin Feng pressed the answer button and Zi Yao's clear voice sounded in his ears. Did I disturb your cultivation, Lin De Ge? It's fine, Lin Feng said with a smile. Just from Zi Yao's tone, he could tell that it must be something good. Zi Yao smiled sweetly. Lin De Ge, good news. Because a titled martial god was injured, the heavenly treasure, Primordial Ruins, has an empty slot for June. Lin De Ge, you can enter tomorrow. Moreover, your original slot for June will not be affected. Lin Feng's eyes flickered with a gentle light. Thank you, Zi Yao. Zi Yao smiled and said, Why are you thanking me? Lin De Ge, you're lucky. That's it then. See you at the city in the sky tomorrow. Okay. Lin Feng nodded gently. He was touched. It was obvious that Zi Yao had carefully arranged this for him. Injured? How could there be such a coincidence in the world? Even if a titled martial god was injured and withdrew, the person in the queue should be the first to enter. How could she let him cut the queue? Most importantly, it would not affect the slot for June. Thank you, Zi Yao, Lin Feng murmured softly. She knew that he had just become a martial god and was lacking in heavenly treasure points. She could not give them to him openly, so she could only secretly arrange them for him. How could he not be touched by her kindness? Zi Yao smiled sweetly and turned off the fluorescent compass. Oh, you! Moon Empress smiled and shook her head. Thank you, elder sister. Zi Yao smiled sweetly, like a beautiful violet. Silly sister, you've never asked me to help you since you were young. I didn't expect that this time. Moon Emperor muttered softly. A trace of indifference flashed across her beautiful face. Does he know that you're helping him like this? Zi Yao shook her head gently. Her eyes were dazzling. I don't want Lin De Ge to know. Is it worth it? The Moon Queen's eyes glowed. Zi Yao nodded heavily as a wisp of deep sweetness appeared in her beautiful eyes. Why would he be calculative when he was doing something for the person he liked? I didn't expect that the most outstanding genius of the Purple Moon clan would be no different from an ordinary person once he fell in love, the Moon Queen said with a smile. This younger sister of hers was far more talented than her. She had already become a soul personage when she was only 10 years old. She was only 15 years old this year, but she was already about to break through and become an Empyrean god. Elder sister, Zi Yao said angrily. The Moon Empress smiled and shook her head. Indeed, what was love? His magic power was so great. Celestial treasure, Primordial Ruins. Lin Feng's eyes flickered with a faint luster. Before he entered the Arcade Hall, He indeed had an incomparable thirst for heavenly treasure point. A titled martial god, cultivation techniques, secret manuals, weapons, defensive equipment, spiritual treasures. Which one of these did not need to be purchased? Emperor Wu and a titled martial god were on two different levels, completely different from each other. It could be said that without a heavenly treasure point, it would be difficult to move an inch. But now, being able to earn more heavenly treasure points is naturally beneficial. Lin Feng nodded. Moreover, this was Zi Yao's way of thinking. Maybe when the time comes, I can use the heavenly treasure points to buy some hidden treasures. Lin Feng suddenly smiled and thought of the Dragonslayer's spear on his body. This weapon was only worth 6 heavenly treasure points. In the Arcade Hall, it was in existence on the same level as the Qilin fire centipede in his left hand. Although he did not know the secret it was hiding, but it would be unearthed sooner or later. I wonder what the celestial treasure primordial ruins will be like? Lin Feng was very curious. No matter what, I still have to increase my strength first. Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly as he walked towards the teleportation array. Ruins of Ir. At this time, it was really a ruin, and there was no sign of life. Following the outbreak of the Beast Horde riot, the battle between the magical beasts and humans took the lead. At every moment, there were battles of different scales happening in the Sky Martial continent. Countless magical beasts attacked crazily. Who would have the leisure to go to the wilderness to hunt magical beasts? Moreover, the wilderness was in a state of turmoil, and the danger was 1,000 times, or even 10,000 times. Only Lin Feng dared to step out of the Sky Martial continent. At this time it was dusk. A figure descended from the sky, his eyes emitting a sharp luster. With the movement of his soul, powerful heaven and earth energy instantly surged, forming a spiral around his body. Suddenly, a terrifying aura spread out, causing the surrounding magical beasts to flee in panic. His strength was intimidating. He took out the aurora all. The faint diamond-shaped metal emitted an exquisite light. Suddenly, the aurora all left his hand and emitted a terrifying sound. It spun rapidly, forming a circle of cold light. The faint silver light dimmed with the dusk, like the eyes of the grim reaper. The surrounding air was cut apart, forming a vacuum. It was extremely terrifying. First form, Aurora Arc. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Bang! A loud explosion was heard. The Aurora Arc transformed into a silver lightning, exploding towards the dilapidated metal building in front of him. So fast. Lin Feng was shocked. In an instant, the silver light shone brightly. A shocking vacuum condensed on the silver arc, and an intense cold light streaked across the building. Bang! The building was instantly penetrated, turning into ruins. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. With a thought, the aurora all returned to his hand like an illusion. Its speed is almost twice as fast as the fireball attack. Lin Feng was shocked. The difference of twice was huge. Even if the fireball could not turn, if its speed was doubled, it would be easy for Lin Feng to deal with an ordinary titled martial god. When the speed was fast enough, all the changes would pale in comparison. Because it was impossible to dodge. But failed. Lin Feng exhaled lightly, but his face did not show any disappointment. If it was so easy to control the aurora all, how could it be called a 6-star spirit practitioner weapon? The first form, Aurora Arc, the key lies in the word arc. The correct burst of attack is cutting and sharpening, not bombarding and crashing. Lin Feng muttered, according to the Aurora Arc secret manual, the real Aurora Arc, as the attack distance increases, the silver arc will increase explosively, forming a real arc. Therefore it was named Aurora Arc again. Lin Feng shouted. The aurora all once again broke through the air, making a soft sound, bringing with it a bright silver arc. It gradually spread, and the vacuum seemed to form a storm. Suddenly, Lin Feng's expression changed. The aurora all was out of control and flew up. Control failed. Lin Feng shook his head helplessly. Gathering the energy of heaven and earth again, Lin Feng's eyes lit up slightly, again. His hand flickered, and with a thought, the aurora all appeared in his hand again, floating in the air. Chi, it feels wrong. Lin Feng frowned. Chi. The airflow collapsed, and the aurora all lost control again. Again and again. Again and again. Just like the comprehension of spear moves, slowly learning and mastering. The requirement of the soul heart was the foundation, just like entering the martial hall or martial gate. The master led the way, but the cultivation depended on the person. Control, what was really important was technique, it was a feeling of control, control of the body, control of the energy of heaven and earth. Lin Feng had just condensed his soul heart, which meant that he had just stepped into this door. In terms of the foundation of control, he had only reached the passing line of the first form, but Lin Feng had a similar training in the Mizang Hall. Control the origin fireball. Although it was not the same, there were traces to be found. On top of that, Lin Feng's comprehension ability was quite shocking. Chi, an ear-piercing sound, accompanied by the sharp sound of the wind. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Rise. Instantly, the aurora all, which was originally a small piece of metal, emitted a resplendent silver light as it spun violently. The rapid flight brought about a dazzling brilliance, and the arc, which was originally only 10 centimeters in diameter, suddenly expanded violently. 20 centimeters. 50 centimeters. 1 meter. Boom, the aurora all hit another layer of ruins, producing a violent explosion sound. The light flickered and the sound of chi was heard. Instantly, the aurora all appeared in Lin Feng's hand again. This is the feeling. Lin Feng's lips curled into a smile. As he continued to experiment, he finally grasped a little bit of the trick. The aurora arc he controlled could already spread a silver arc in flight. Although it was only 1 meter, which did not reach the standard, at the very least, it was already a considerable improvement. A good start. Again. Lin Feng said happily. Time, minute by minute, second by second. From dusk to darkness, from darkness, the clouds gradually parted. The sky gradually brightened, and gradually, the clouds in the east were suffused with red. Finally, aurora arc. Lin Feng's eyes were like lightning as he stared at the aurora all in front of him. The resplendent silver light exploded, and the sound of metal being cut apart caused the surrounding air to completely disperse. It was like a domineering demonic beast, occupying all the space. Following Lin Feng's shout, a shocking explosion sound was heard. June! It was like thunder stirring up the earth's fire. The silver light flew up rapidly, and the arc expanded to the limit. From 10 centimeters to 1 meter, from 1 meter to 10 meters in the blink of an eye, 100 meters. It was like a huge silver disk, covering the entire sky in the blink of an eye. It was an incomparably terrifying attack. In an instant it struck down like lightning, breaking through the air. The aurora all lit up with a layer of dazzling cold light, and streaked across the 10-story tall ruined building. June! It was cut off from the center. The top floor flew up, as if a huge sword was swung up out of thin air. It was cut in half. Boom, the building shattered and collapsed. The aurora all pierced through the air and turned into a ray of starlight. Lin Feng stood calmly, his eyes shining brightly. He raised his right hand and instantly light and shadow bloomed. A small diamond-shaped metal appeared in his hand. Success. Lin Feng's lips curled up. First update, sincerely, I won't stay up all night anymore. I'm really unable to take it at such a young age. Today's day was chaotic, and the efficiency was terrible. There are only 2 updates left for today. Let's see if I can make up for it tomorrow. The second update will be updated at around 1 a.m. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 227. City in the Sky. With a flash of white light, Lin Feng appeared. Lin Feng glanced around and saw that there were already 3 martial gods waiting. Looks like I'm not the only one who entered at the same time. Lin Feng muttered to himself. At this moment, he sensed a familiar and warm aura behind him with his mind's eye. Lin Feng's lips curled up slightly as he turned around. Instantly, he saw a blushing face with a sweet smile. Stepping forward, Lin Feng didn't care about everyone's gazes. "Lin De Gu," Ziyao said softly. As he approached, the faint floral scent on Ziyao's body wafted into his nose. Lin Feng smiled and nodded. "I'm here, Ziyao." Their eyes met, and they could see the deep longing in each other's eyes. They had just fallen in love, but they encountered such a devastating disaster at the wrong time. Both of them had their own burdens and responsibilities, but they couldn't be like ordinary men and women. With gains, there was bound to be losses. There's still time. "Lin De Gu, let me introduce you to the ancient ruins of the celestial treasure," Ziyao said softly. "Okay." Lin Feng nodded. This was very important to him. With detailed information, he would be able to avoid many detours. The ancient ruins of the celestial treasure is different from other ancient ruins. It's actually a spatial teleportation door. Ziyao said softly. "Through the teleportation door, Lin De Gu, you will enter another spatial world. We call it the celestial treasure world." Lin Feng said softly, "Oh." He wasn't unfamiliar with the otherworld space. He had been there many times when he was at the level of Emperor Wu. The celestial treasure world is a world covered by thick fog. "Lin De Gu, you can think of it as a funnel." Ziyao smiled. "Funnel?" Lin Feng suddenly smiled. After Ziyao's analogy, he had a rough impression of it in his mind. It was a strange alternate world space. The celestial treasure world is rich in ores, and the most precious one is the celestial treasure crystal. Ziyao's eyes lit up. Most of the ores in the celestial treasure world are buried underground, only the celestial treasure crystal floats with the dense fog. Because the celestial treasure crystal is not a real ore, but a type of energy crystal. Lin Feng nodded thoughtfully. Like all the ancient ruins, the celestial treasure world. But the celestial treasure world's danger can be controlled, Ziyao said softly. In the heavenly treasure world, you will encounter fog beasts. The weakest one is roughly equivalent to a stage 1 martial god, and the strongest one is comparable to a stage 7 martial god. However, the dense fog beasts have a strong sense of territory. The stronger the dense fog beasts are, the deeper they live. Fog beast? Was different from the king-level beasts? Lin Feng could not help but ask as he looked at Ziyao. As if she knew what Lin Feng was thinking, Ziyao smiled and said, "The fog beast is a kind of demonic beast, but it is not a demonic beast. It doesn't have a core like a king-level demonic beast, nor does it have intelligence. What the fog beast has is only a strong body and unimaginably strong body. However, its attack power and speed are very ordinary." "How strong is it?" Lin Feng asked in surprise. "It exceeds my own strength by an entire level." Ziyao extended her slender finger. "A rank 1 fog beast, its body's defensive power is equivalent to a rank 1 emperor-level magical beast." "Oh my god!" Lin Feng was shocked. No wonder Ziyao used the word unimaginable to describe it. It was indeed too shocking. A fog beast that was equivalent to a rank 1 king-level magical beast actually had the strong body of an emperor-level magical beast. It was extremely strange. "There's no need to fight the fog beast." Ziyao shook her head. "Lin De Gu, just run away. It won't be able to catch up. Moreover, the dense fog beast lacks attacking methods and basic intelligence. Its attacking methods are even inferior to that of a soldier-level magical beast." No wonder. Lin Feng suddenly understood. No wonder Ziyao said that the heavenly treasures were not dangerous. With Lin De Ji's strength, Even a rank 7 fog beast would not be able to do anything to you. However, a class 7 magical beast is not the most dangerous existence in the heavenly treasure world. In the deepest part of the heavenly treasure world, there is a dense pitch-black fog that cannot see the sun. Lindigo, you must not enter. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. There are countless fog beast kings there, as well as the legendary. Zi Yao's eyes sparkled. Black fog demon dragon. Lin Feng nodded. With Zi Yao's warning, it was obviously very dangerous. Don't worry, Zi Yao. Lin Feng nodded with a smile. Zi Yao revealed a smile. She believed that Lindigo knew how to avoid danger. At 7 in the morning, the sky lit up. The last martial god came late. However, no one dared to say anything. The person who came had a very high status. He was one of the 8 giants of the human race, the sect master of the Scorching Sun sect, and the vice leader of the 5 major sects alliance. Qi Yan. Sect Master Qi Yan. All the martial gods greeted him respectfully. Sect Master Qi, Lin Feng nodded with a smile. No matter what, he had stayed in the Firmament Sun martial sect for a long time. He had many connections with the Scorching Sun sect. Moreover, the area he was responsible for was the southern part of the Scorching Sun County. It's you, Lin Feng. Qi Yan also greeted with a smile. The other martial gods all looked at him with envy. It was obvious that Sect Master Qi Yan was very friendly to Lin Feng, but he didn't even greet them. Although Lin Feng was being biased, no one would say anything because Lin Feng did have the right to do so, and he had the strength to do so. After defeating the Heavenly Martial Army's junior commander, Lin Feng had been given the title of 9th Powerhouse. They didn't like Lin Feng? What a joke. They couldn't wait to build a relationship with him. So Sect Master Qi is the one leading the team this time, Lin Feng said casually. He had heard from Zi Yao that every time they entered the Heavenly Treasure Realm, one of the 8 powerhouses would lead the team. 5 titled martial gods would enter at once. Although they said they were leading the team, they were only leading the team to the Heavenly Treasure Realm. After entering the Heavenly Treasure Realm, they would go their separate ways. It was obvious that the 8 powerhouses entered the Heavenly Treasure Realm many times more than ordinary martial gods. However, this was status and power. There was nothing unfair about it. I didn't expect it to be you, Lin Feng. Qi Yan smiled and patted Lin Feng's shoulder. Let's go. Okay. Lin Feng nodded in response. Soon, the coordinates were entered into the teleportation array. Following the flashes of white light, the martial gods immediately left. Lin Feng turned around and looked at Zi Yao. He smiled and nodded at the beauty, indicating that she didn't need to worry. Then, he left as well. Don't worry, Zi Yao. I will take good care of Lin Feng for you. Qi Yan smiled faintly and turned around. He was the last one to step into the teleportation array. Following the flash of white light, the pair of sharp eyes instantly disappeared without a trace. It was a huge cave. It looked like the mouth of a king-level fiend beast. The surroundings were filled with rocks and weeds. It looked very barren. This is the Heavenly Treasure Realm, Qi Yan said to Lin Feng. The others had been here long ago. Only Lin Feng was here for the first time. Okay. After looking around, Lin Feng followed Qi Yan into the cave. Drip, drip. The sound of water was crisp. The cave was slightly damp. Lin Feng's eyes flickered with curiosity. It was his first time entering such a huge cave. It looked like the Water Moon Cave. It had a unique flavor. Lin Feng, do you know the general situation? Qi Yan smiled. More or less. Lin Feng nodded. He believed that Zi Yao had already told him what needed to be said. The others might miss something, but Zi Yao definitely wouldn't. Actually, it's not a big deal. With Brother Lin Feng's strength, as long as you don't enter the Black Fog area, you won't be in any danger. Qi Yan smiled lightly. However, how many heavenly treasure points you can obtain depends on your luck. Some get a few heavenly treasure points, some get dozens, or even hundreds. There have been those who returned empty-handed with bad luck. Qi Yan said casually, however, that's an exception. Normally, no matter how bad your luck is, you'll still be able to obtain a few heavenly treasure points after entering. I hope my luck isn't that bad. Lin Feng laughed. Indeed, luck was something that couldn't be predicted. However, according to Ziyao, the deeper one went, the more heavenly treasure crystal there were. With his strength, no matter how he looked at it, he wouldn't return empty-handed. It's not necessarily just heavenly treasure crystal. The rare ores in the heavenly treasure world are also not bad. Qi Yan recalled, I remember once a martial god picked up a piece of nether stone. In the end, he sold it for 300 heavenly treasure points at the martial god auction house. That works too? Lin Feng was slightly surprised. However, there are too few rare ores and they are all buried underground. Qi Yan shook her head. Not to mention the difficulty of digging them out, there are also fog beasts eyeing them covetously. Although the fog beast's attack power is lacking, it would be impossible for you to kill it. Lin Feng nodded. According to Ziyao, the fog beast wasn't a magical beast. It didn't have any so-called weaknesses. In order to kill it, one must have the attack power to break through the defense of an emperor-level magical beast. It's a good opportunity to test out the power of the Qilin fire puppet and the Aurora all. Lin Feng thought to himself. He really wanted to know how much his strength could be enhanced by these two soul personage weapons. Soon, under the guidance of sect leader Qi Yan, everyone arrived at the deepest part of the cave. It was a spacious place, as if it was a huge room. It's almost time. Qi Yan nodded. Just as she finished speaking, suddenly, there was a violent tremor in the air. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. He saw 5 spots of light flickering around him, emitting a zzz sound. The spots of light continued to expand, gradually forming a circle of light with a solitary aura of heaven and earth energy. Let's go in. Following Qi Yan's words, the martial gods couldn't wait to rush in. In an instant, the circles of light disappeared one by one, leaving only 2 in front of them. Good luck, sect leader Qi. Good luck, Lin Feng. Looking at each other and smiling, Lin Feng immediately stepped into the circle of light. Qi Yan's eyes were cold and sharp. She smiled coldly and instantly stepped into the last circle of light. Today's second update, a little late, to be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Qidian.com to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 228. His body seemed to have entered a passage of time. Traveling back and forth, the scenery on both sides constantly changed, dazzling his eyes. His body shook, causing him to be in a trance. Suddenly, an intense white light flickered in front of him, as if, passing through space, he entered a new world. Hua! Lin Feng's eyes gradually became clear. What he saw before him was a huge area shrouded in white fog. It was hazy and had a strong sense of mystery. Inexplicably, his body felt a huge movement. Lin Feng's face changed. His spirit heart started to revolve. In a split second, the surrounding astonishing heaven and earth energy surged, like a surging wave. What a dense heaven and earth energy! Lin Feng was shocked. Outside his body, the huge spiral shape slowly increased, strengthened, and finally condensed into an illusion. It's close to 10 times of sky martial continent. Lin Feng's eyes lit up, closed his eyes, and the 4th level of mystery of soul automatically revolved, seeing the illusion continuously entering his body. In a split second, his spirit power undulations became extremely intense. His spirit heart was flickering with a faint light. After an incense stick's worth of time, Lin Feng opened his eyes. They shone brightly, filled with joy. My God, cultivating here, the speed of my spirit power increasing, is almost 10 times of sky martial continent. Lin Feng was shocked. But in a split second, Lin Feng was caught in a dilemma. Fish and bear paw cannot have the best of both worlds. He came to the heavenly treasure world, for the heavenly treasure crystals, but if he cultivated here, wouldn't it be a waste? But, as a martial artist, if he did not make use of such a good cultivation environment, it was also a waste. Helpless, Lin Feng felt a knot in his heart. 3 days, every time I enter, I only have 3 days of time. Lin Feng muttered. According to Ziyao, once the 3 days are up, the teleportation gate will appear, forming a huge suction force, sending me back to Sky Martial Continent. The problem now is how to use these 3 days. Lin Feng frowned, deep in thought. Very quickly, he made a decision. Cultivate. Lin Feng's eyes sparkled. Since I can enter the Arcade Hall, it doesn't matter if I don't have any heavenly treasure points. To him, increasing his strength was far more important than obtaining heavenly treasure points. Cultivating in the heavenly treasure world for 3 days was equivalent to cultivating in the Sky Martial Continent. 30 days. Although it was only an increase in soul force, it was enough. In a battle, the most important thing was to display the strongest strength of a martial artist, and his strongest point was soul power. If I increase my soul force, the fireball's power will increase. The aurora all can not only be controlled better, but it can also be cultivated into a higher form. Lin Feng nodded. Since he had already made up his mind, he no longer hesitated. He sat cross-legged and closed his eyes. Consciousness doppelganger. Lin Feng's expression instantly turned serious. Suddenly, an illusory clone appeared in front of him, symmetrical with Lin Feng from afar, as if there was a mirror between them. It was a perfect copy. In an instant, the consciousness doppelganger activated the 4th page of the Mystery of Soul, absorbing the energy of heaven and earth in the thick fog to cultivate. The main body, Lin Feng, was preparing to cultivate the vigorous giant python arts. Suddenly, Lin Feng opened his eyes and laughed inexplicably. I'm so stupid. My consciousness doppelganger can cultivate, but can't my main body move? Lin Feng's chest flashed with light. Suddenly, the cloud shuttle suddenly enlarged and appeared in front of him. Although my human soul is 1 level lower than the life soul and has yet to condense a soul heart, it's more than enough to control the cloud shuttle. Lin Feng suddenly laughed and jumped onto the cloud shuttle. Anyway, there's no need to fight here. I just need to pick up the heavenly treasure crystals. Without the life soul, the human soul took over. The mind's eye's perception became a little blurry, and his vision became a little lower. But he just needed to get used to it. So, Lin Feng flew slowly, curiously looking at the locator in his left hand. How strange. I can actually use a locator in this place? Lin Feng felt a little curious. This locator was given to him by Qi Yan before he left. It was used to locate his location, and at the same time, it had the function of calling for help. It was no different from the locator used during the warrior preparation exam. It was no wonder that Lin Feng was so surprised. Logically speaking, all communication devices in the primordial ruins, including the locator, should be ineffective. But this place didn't. Could it be that this is a complete world? Lin Feng smiled. He shook his head, but didn't care too much. Since he was already here, he might as well take things as they came. There was no need to get to the bottom of many things. Using his mind's eye, he sensed his surroundings. There was a thick fog, but with the locator, he wouldn't lose his way. It's just as Xiao said. The heavenly treasure world is a world completely covered by fog. Lin Feng said in surprise. He didn't dare to fly too fast. Instead, he maintained a speed that his mind's eye could sense and wouldn't cause too much danger. After all, there was still the existence of the mysterious fog beast here. I wonder what this fog beast looks like? Lin Feng smiled indifferently with curiosity. He slowly flew towards the center of the heavenly treasure world. Suddenly, his mind's eye sensed something. HM? Lin Feng's eyes shone. He turned sideways and flew in the opposite direction. Instantly, he appeared as if he had teleported. He glanced at the pure white crystal floating in the fog. Lin Feng's lips curled up into a faint smile. Heavenly treasure crystal. Hua! His right hand gently grabbed it, and he felt an extremely pure heaven and earth energy. My luck is not bad. Lin Feng smiled. Although this heavenly treasure crystal wasn't big, and it was probably only 5 heavenly treasure points when broken down, but this was undoubtedly a good start. No wonder I felt a strange heaven and earth energy when I first got the heavenly treasure crystal. Lin Feng muttered softly. He immediately put the heavenly treasure crystal into the cube ring. This was the interspatial ring he had obtained from killing the 5 assassins. Although it was ordinary, it was enough for his use. Speaking of which, those 5 poor bastards didn't even have 20 heavenly treasure points. Lin Feng shook his head helplessly. Suddenly, he didn't know which low-level martial god wasn't a complete mess of poverty. After becoming a titled martial god, one had to buy mental cultivation techniques, flying treasures, and weapons. There wouldn't be enough. How could there be more? Even someone as strong as the fire god had exchanged his heavenly treasure points for battle power. He only had 6 heavenly treasure points for reserve. According to Zi Yao, the heavenly treasure crystal should be the energy crystallization of the fog. Lin Feng's eyes emitted an extremely bright light. If this fog can be absorbed, then the heavenly treasure crystal should be able to be absorbed as well. The same substance in a different form. No wonder the heavenly treasure points are used as currency. Lin Feng nodded. Realization dawned on him. In the outer regions of the heavenly treasure world, whoosh! A general of the heavenly martial army flew by on a flying treasure at an extremely fast speed. Although there weren't many heavenly treasure crystals in the outer regions, it was safe. Fog beasts were even rarer, so he could use his fastest speed to fly. As for efficiency, each had their own merit. Overall, there was only one word to describe it: luck. Picking up a heavenly treasure crystal did require a bit of luck. Lin Feng? The general of the heavenly martial army was quite surprised. He didn't expect that the heavenly treasure world was so big. He actually bumped into another martial god. Although they had 3 days each time they entered, it was like 5 people entering different corners of the vast ocean. It wasn't easy to meet each other again. However, bumping into Lin Feng was both a coincidence and not a coincidence. The coincidence was that the two of them were indeed very close to each other, but in reality, Lin Feng hadn't moved at all. On the other hand, the general of the heavenly martial army had circled around the heavenly treasure world in 3 days. Meeting Lin Feng was only a matter of time. Strange, what is Lin Feng doing? The general of the heavenly martial army gazed into the distance. Separated by layers of fog, he could only see a faint image of Lin Feng. What a strange cultivation technique. Cultivating it can make one's body indistinguishable from reality, the general of the heavenly martial army said in surprise. What he didn't know was that Lin Feng was really just an energy clone. He only had a fate soul, which was why he could create a faint image. Heavens, is he cultivating? The general of the heavenly martial army exclaimed in shock after staring for a while. Seeing that Lin Feng was absorbing the fog, he was so shocked that he couldn't speak. He felt like he was suffocating. Heavenly treasure points can be absorbed, but how can this fog be absorbed directly? The general of the heavenly martial army frowned and closed his eyes. He sensed the dense energy of heaven and earth and activated his cultivation technique, but his body was like a sealed container. He couldn't absorb the fog at all. Without a soul heart, he was like a sealed bottle. He couldn't absorb it at all. Failure. The general of the heavenly martial army opened his eyes, and his face was filled with disappointment. As expected of the ninth head, he sighed, and a hint of admiration appeared in his eyes. He didn't stay any longer and left. Lin Feng's consciousness clone was still cultivating. In reality, he could sense every action of the general of the heavenly martial army with his mind's eye. Deep within the heavenly treasure world, Qi Yan had a cold smile on his face. He could see the positions of all the martial gods on the locator in his left hand. As one of the 8 heads, Qi Yan's leader also had the responsibility of protecting them. Although the heavenly treasure world wasn't very dangerous, the fog beasts were still around. It was inevitable that some martial gods would be blinded by greed and enter the heavenly treasure world. If they were in danger, they would save them if they could. If they were too far away, there was nothing they could do. Lin Feng, I originally planned to act after you entered the heavenly treasure world in June, but I didn't expect you to deliver yourself to me so quickly. Qi Yan smiled sinisterly. I know more secrets about the heavenly treasure world than the commander and the Moon Empress. Here, if I want you to die, you won't have any chance to live. Qi Yan's eyes flashed. Enjoy your last bit of happiness. Ha 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 ha. The scarlet pheasant's wild laughter slowly drifted through the heavenly treasure world. Lin Feng didn't know that extreme danger. It had already descended. As expected, sleeping early and waking up early is good. Including yesterday's chapter, I owe you guys 5 chapters. I can only repay the debt of longevity with a long life at _at. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 229. Luck wouldn't always be there. Although he quickly obtained the first heavenly treasure crystal, Lin Feng was empty-handed for the next 2 hours. As expected, just as sect leader Qi said, it all depends on luck. Lin Feng smiled and flew slowly. Heavenly treasure points might be important to other martial gods, but to him it was just icing on the cake. No matter how good the treasures of the martial god auction house were, could they be better than the Alcade Palace? Not to mention the others, just his 3-star spirit practitioner weapon, the Qilin Fire Centipede, was enough to beat all of them. No one would be stupid enough to take out and sell a truly good item. Suddenly, Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Using his mind's eye, he saw a dot of light in front of him. It was rapidly flying towards him. Woo! The sound of the wind was like that of a crane. In front of him, a monster instantly appeared. Its huge head took up 1/3 of its body, and it looked like a lion. However, its body was extremely small. It was like a large dog that hadn't fully developed. Its iron hooves were wrapped in a thick layer of white membrane, and its thin and short tail was curled up. Dense fog beast. Lin Feng recognized it at first glance. It was exactly as Ziyao had described. However, there wasn't the slightest bit of luster in those ferocious large eyes. Even a soldier-level magical beast was more intelligent than it. Controlling the cloud shuttle, Lin Feng leaned to the side and easily dodged the dense fog beast's attack. With the dense fog beast's speed, if it wanted to attack him, it would have to succeed in a sneak attack. But was it possible? Rank 1 dense fog beast. Lin Feng quickly saw that the dense fog beast's body was covered in a layer of strange, white light. In his senses, the white light was somewhat similar to the fog. It seems like it feeds on the fog to grow, Lin Feng thought to himself. He instantly understood what Ziyao had told him. The dense fog beast was indeed like a demon beast, but it wasn't one. Without intelligence, it couldn't be considered a living creature. Rank 1 dense fog beast. In other words, its defense is a first-tier demonic beast. Lin Feng's eyes brightened. The cloud shuttle quickly retreated and quickly left the bewilderment fog beast's attack range. Combine. Lin Feng's expression became serious. In an instant, the consciousness doppelganger outside the heavenly treasure world dissipated like smoke. Lin Feng's eyes suddenly shone brightly. Lin Feng had long mastered the use of consciousness doppelganger. As long as the doppelganger and the main body could sense each other, he could instantly recover. Without a life soul, Lin Feng was only at the pinnacle of Emperor Wu. Even the weakest titled martial god would be able to kill him. However, with his life spirit as the main force, Lin Feng's strength, it was an earth-shattering change. The only thing he lacked to become an Empyrean god was a heart of origin and a transformation of his body. Empyrean gods were divided into two branches. Compared to a heavenly spirit master, Lin Feng lacked origin energy and a body. However, compared to a heavenly soul master, Lin Feng only lacked the transformation of his body. However, this was not the most important thing for a heavenly soul master. The heart of soul spun rapidly and the energy of heaven and earth surged madly. In an instant, Lin Feng's left hand was covered in red light. The Qilin fire centipede emitted a shocking aura. Its dragon whiskers shone and its blood-red eyes were bright and full of spirit. In an instant, Lin Feng felt an extremely shocking power emerge from his left hand. The deep green color had the feeling of life. It was as if there was a cluster of flames burning in the fireball. The fire origin energy. Origin fireball. Lin Feng's eyes were like lightning as he stared at the huge fireball. This was the first time he had used the real origin energy. Such strong power. Lin Feng was shocked. He had seen the fire god use the fire origin before, but the difference in power was huge. The fire origin was a kind of amplification, an amplification of power. The origin fire was a base. The bigger the base, the more power the fire origin could unleash. Just like now. I can't control it at all. Lin Feng frowned. The power was too strong. Out of control. However, no matter how out of control it was, the origin fireball still flew towards the dense fog beast in a straight line. Its direction did not change. Although the dense fog beast's defense was strong, it only had the power of a first-rank king-level magical beast. What was even more ridiculous was that it did not dodge at all. It was unknown whether it was confidence or stupidity. Boom! A shocking explosion formed a blazing mushroom cloud. There was no scream, nor was there any burning flames. There was only a boom, as if it was swallowed. It had the defensive power of a first-rank emperor-level magical beast. In the sky martial continent, no titled martial god could break through its defense, it was shattered. Lin Feng looked over. The first-rank dense fog beast had already turned into nothingness, not even its corpse was left. Lin Feng smiled faintly. He was quite satisfied with the origin fireball's power. Combined with the fire origin, he could finally unleash the true power of a sky spirit master. This was the power of a weapon. 3-star spirit master weapon, Qilin fire centipede. Lin Feng suddenly made a sound of surprise. His body moved in an instant, arriving at the place where the dense fog beast had disappeared. In the air, a white crystal floated, emitting a faint aura of energy. Heavenly treasure crystal? Lin Feng was stunned. He did not expect that after the dense fog beast was killed, it would leave behind a heavenly treasure crystal. Such a strange discovery made Lin Feng excited. I understand now. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. So the core of the dense fog beast was not an orb, but a heavenly treasure crystal. No wonder it did not have any intelligence. Also, the white halo around its body carried the energy of heaven and earth. Lin Feng nodded heavily, and the corner of his mouth curved into an indifferent arc. In other words, I don't need to try my luck to find the heavenly treasure crystal. As long as I hunt the fog beast, I can also obtain a considerable amount of heavenly treasure crystal. Things suddenly became much simpler. From pure luck, it became a game of hunting. The deeper I go, the more dense fog beasts there are. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. In an instant, he sped away. His consciousness clone cultivated, while his main body searched for dense fog beasts. Lin Feng distributed the tasks evenly, not wasting any time. As expected, compared to searching for heavenly treasure crystal like a headless fly, searching for dense fog beasts was much easier. Ever since he killed the first dense fog beast, Lin Feng seemed to have stepped into the territory of the dense fog beast. Very quickly, the dense fog beasts came one after another. In less than 2 hours, Lin Feng had already obtained 12 heavenly treasure crystal. Although none of them exceeded 10 heavenly treasure points, when added together, it was already a shocking number. 60 heavenly treasure points. Normally, when an ordinary martial god entered the heavenly treasure world, they would obtain around 5 to 10 heavenly treasure points. As for Lin Feng, in just 2 hours, he had already surpassed them by several times. And this was only the beginning. It just so happens that I can earn heavenly treasure points and also familiarize myself with the Lin fire puppet. Lin Feng clenched his left fist, and a faint energy spiraled around his body, activating the power of the Lin fire puppet. His entire left hand was covered in a dense red light, making him look extremely ghostly. However, after being strengthened by the fire origin energy, the difficulty of controlling it has increased by more than 10 times. I can only slowly familiarize myself with it through battle. Lin Feng laughed indifferently. To the other martial gods, the dense fog beast was like a dense iron brand. No matter how they attacked, they could not break through its defense. But to him, the dense fog beast was just a living target. Time passed by minute. Lin Feng sped towards the center of the heavenly treasure world. As time passed, Lin Feng became more and more proficient in controlling the Lin fire puppet. Although he was still unable to control the astonishing fire origin, at least he could control it with ease. It was like flipping through a book. Although he was unable to recite it, he had already begun to understand the meaning behind it. Step by step, he slowly improved. It was impossible to reach the heavens in a single step. 12 hours later, its aura has become stronger. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. In his mind's eye, a dense fog beast was rapidly approaching. Whiz! The cloud shuttle flew backwards, and Lin Feng's expression instantly became serious, close. In an instant, the doppelganger turned into nothingness, and Lin Feng's original body trembled like an afterimage as it closed. Instantly, his eyes lit up. A dense fog beast with a bigger body and stronger energy appeared in his eyes. There were 2 white halos on its body, as if there were 2 white halos embedded from its lower abdomen to its back. It looked extremely strange. Lin Feng said in surprise, "A rank 2 dense fog beast?" A rank 2 dense fog beast had the defense of a rank 2 demon emperor beast. Compared to a rank 1 dense fog beast, its defense was more than double. I wonder if I can break it? Lin Feng frowned slightly, and the battle intent in his eyes instantly surged. The Lin fire puppet on the back of his left hand seemed to come alive, shining with a red light. The familiar feeling of energy entered his heart, and an incomparably deep emerald green origin fireball roared loudly. Go! Lin Feng's eyes were sharp. In an instant, the fireball was like a meteor bombarding, falling like lightning. The dense fog beast was not afraid at all. Like a fearless warrior, it collided with the fireball. Bang! The 2 opposing forces collided. It can't be killed? Lin Feng was startled. The dense fog beast flew backwards, but it was not swallowed by the origin fireball. It was still alive. However, its aura is a bit weak. Lin Feng's eyes flashed, and his mind's eye could sense it clearly. The origin fireball is not without any killing power, but it is not strong enough. Continue. In an instant, Lin Feng's left hand glowed again, and the dark green origin fireball with a terrifying flame once again shot towards the dense fog beast. Bang! 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 After more than 10 explosions, the rank 2 dense fog beast turned into a ray of light and disappeared without a trace. What was left was a white and flawless crystal floating in the air all by itself. Compared to the sky treasure crystal left by the rank 1 dense fog beast, it was almost twice as big. About 15 sky treasure points. Lin Feng grabbed the crystal, looked at it, and put it into the cube ring. Although it was indeed more than the rank 1 dense fog beast, he was not too excited. After all, the sky treasure points in the cube ring had already exceeded the 400 mark. My origin fireball can only deal with a rank 2 dense fog beast? Lin Feng frowned. It was obvious that the defense of a rank 3 dense fog beast would be doubled again. He was already so tired from dealing with a rank 2 dense fog beast, and only relied on the number of fireballs to barely kill it. Facing a rank 3 dense fog beast, there was a 99% chance that he would not be able to break through its defense. I have the origin of fire, and I have the control of my life spirit. Is my strength only this much? Lin Feng thought. Second update, adjust the schedule and try to stabilize the update time first. Third update at 002 @_. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidien.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 230. Although the defense of a second-stage Bewilderment Fog Beast was comparable to a second-stage Emperor-level beast, that was only its defense. It was not its strength. Offense will always be stronger than defense. If it was really a second-stage Emperor-level beast, it would be hard for me to deal with it. Its attack would be enough to offset the power of my Origin Fireball. Furthermore, with its speed, the Origin Fireball would not be able to hit it if it couldn't turn. Lin Feng clearly understood that the Bewilderment Fog Beast was easy to deal with because it just didn't have intelligence. A real beast, especially an Emperor-level beast, had intelligence comparable to a human. How could it be so stupid as to allow itself to be slaughtered by others? That's right. Even if I have the Qilin fire puppet, I am still not a celestial spirit master. The fire origin of the Qilin fire puppet is fixed. It is not like a celestial spirit master who can increase it with his strength. In addition, the improvement of the body's quality will increase the power of the origin fire. Lin Feng nodded and analyzed the situation in his heart. He originally thought that with the Qilin fire puppet, his strength was comparable to a celestial spirit master. But in reality there was still a big gap. It's almost time. Qi Yan's eyes shone brightly. The flame shuttle under his feet suddenly emitted light. With a so sound, he sped forward. The locator on his left hand flickered with a bright luster. The white dot representing Qi Yan was approaching a red dot. For this moment, Qi Yan had been hibernating. It did not get close to Lin Feng, but it also did not get too far away. It was waiting for an opportunity. Now was the time. Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly. After killing a second-stage Bewilderment Fog Beast, his mind's eye sensed something. However, it was not the energy reaction of the Bewilderment Fog Beast. It was the energy of a martial god. It was quite powerful. Sect leader Qi? Lin Feng was deep in thought. In the heavenly treasure world, the martial gods searched for their own opportunities. It was very rare for them to meet. After all, if they were too close to each other, it was equivalent to overlapping an area. It would reduce the chances of obtaining heavenly treasure crystals. No one would be willing to do so. Obviously, sect leader Qi had something to do with him. So, the sound of air breaking came. In an instant, Lin Feng saw Qi Yan, a pair of slightly excited face, eyes full of surprise. Let's go, Lin Feng. Do me a favor. Qi Yan's eyes flickered. Lin Feng was slightly surprised. There. Qi Yan pointed with her right hand and nodded. I found a cave where the fog energy is extremely concentrated. There are countless heavenly treasure crystals inside. There are at least a few thousand heavenly treasure points. However, there are too many bewilderment fog beasts inside, and the cave is too small. I can't handle them all by myself. Sect Master Chi's meaning is. Lin Feng gave a soft oath. I'll lure these fog beasts out, Qi Yan said. Lin Feng, you enter the cave and retrieve the heavenly treasure crystals. We'll split them 50-50. Lin Feng was slightly hesitant, although the heavenly treasure spar was indeed very precious. However, he could easily obtain thousands of heavenly treasure points just by killing the fog beast. There was no need for him to take the risk. How about it, Lin Feng? Qi Yan's expression was filled with anticipation. Seeing that Lin Feng was still hesitating, she immediately said, How about this, you take 60% and I take 40%. Lin Feng shook his head and laughed. There's no need for that. Let's split it 50-50, Sect Master Qi. Qi Yan laughed out loud. Good, straightforward. Let's go. With that, Qi Yan turned into a streak of fiery light and sped away. Lin Feng let out a light breath and followed closely behind. No matter what, one should return the favor. Since he was from the Firmament Martial School, he should return the favor to Sect Master Qi. Moreover, this was nothing more than a small matter. Moreover, he could earn a lot of heavenly treasure points, so why not? This is the place? Lin Feng looked at the inconspicuous cave in front of him, and said in surprise. Yes, let's go in. As if she was afraid that Lin Feng would be worried, Qi Yan kept the flame shuttle, and took the lead to step in. Lin Feng nodded and followed in. The cave was very spacious, but compared to the entrance of the heavenly treasure, ancient ruins, it was indeed a little small. What a strong energy aura! Lin Feng was slightly surprised. In his mind's eye, it was indeed as Sect Master Qi had said. The fog here was much stronger than other places. Even from so far away, he could deeply feel this astonishing aura. Looks like Sect Master Qi's words are true. Lin Feng thought to himself. The thicker the fog, the denser the energy of heaven and earth. Naturally, it would form a large number of heavenly treasure crystal and fog beasts. One had to be on guard against others. Although he had promised Sect Master Qi, Lin Feng was not careless. The further in he went, the deeper the energy aura. Suddenly Lin Feng frowned. In his mind's eye, the energy aura of heaven and earth seemed to be a little different. There was more violence and less gentleness. It was very strange. The fog was getting thicker and thicker, and the feeling was getting stronger. In the thick white fog, Lin Feng vaguely felt that something was wrong. The color of the fog seems to be a little darker, and there seem to be some black spots. Is it my imagination? Imagination? In an instant, Lin Feng's heart jumped. His expression changed instantly. What Zi Yao had said to him before he left suddenly appeared in his mind. In the deepest part of the heavenly treasure world, there was a thick pitch-black fog that could not see the light of day. Pitch-black fog. Lin Feng's eyes suddenly widened. No, the heavenly treasure, ancient ruins, has existed for a long time. Although this place is quite hidden, how could it not be discovered with such dense energy of heaven and earth? There's a ghost here. Sect Master Qi is lying. In an instant, Lin Feng turned his head. Their eyes met, and Qi Yan's eyes flashed sharply. Hua! Qi Yan's body quickly retreated, and a 5-foot-long saber that looked like a fire dragon was suddenly unsheathed in Qi Yan's hand. Bang! Qi Yan! Lin Feng shouted angrily. There was no need to say anything else. Everything in front of him had already told him. From head to toe, it was a conspiracy. Boom! Lin Feng's strength exploded in an instant. The Qilin fire centipede in his left hand was incomparably ferocious, like a dazzling fire dragon roaring violently. Lin Feng was incomparably furious. In the blink of an eye, the flames were extremely fierce, and the origin of fire flickered, igniting the entire cave. Elemental fireball! Lin Feng shouted angrily. The terrifying flames exploded, and Qi Yan's eyes shone brightly. You can't dodge! Qi Yan was very clear that Lin Feng's fireball could turn. Moreover, he didn't need to dodge. Qi Yan was very clear about Lin Feng's strength. "Do you think I'm that spoiled brat?" The corners of Qi Yan's mouth were cold. In an instant, an aura that was not the slightest bit inferior to Lin Feng's exploded with a loud bang. The powerful energy of heaven and earth gathered around Qi Yan's body, causing the 5-foot-long war blade to hum. Heaven's splitting blade art. Qi Yan's aura completely merged with the battle blade in his hand. Incomparably fierce. Pang Rant's qi was mixed with the tyrannical energy of heaven and earth, and in an instant, it collided with Lin Feng's elemental fireball. Peng! The terrifying reaction caused Qi Yan's qi and blood to churn, but the enormous elemental fireball was completely scattered. Qi Yan's mouth was smeared with a calm smile. He was now an existence that surpassed the titled martial god. Lin Feng? What was that? But Qi Yan's smile only paused for half a second, an even more terrifying aura than before, as if the death god had opened his eyes, glittering with a dazzling cold light. Heavens, what is this? Qi Yan's expression changed greatly. Aurora All, a 6-star spirit practitioner weapon. Lin Feng's eyes were incomparably cold, and he used all of his strength. His strongest trump card revealed. Aurora Arc. Lin Feng shouted coldly. A resplendent bright silver exploded with a bang, and the sound of metal cutting caused the surrounding airflow to completely disperse, completely enveloping the narrow cave. The echoes were like a huge sickle cutting the surrounding stone walls, and following Lin Feng's shout, an astonishing explosion sound was produced. June! Like the heavenly thunder stirring up the earth's fire. Lightning crackled. The silver light flew up, and the arc expanded to the limit, covering the entire cave. An incomparably frightening attack. No! Qi Yan's eyes widened, and the battle blade in his hand slashed out with all of his strength. Outside his body, he was covered with a layer of golden armor, and a thick sharp shield blocked in front of him. Facing Lin Feng's shocking attack, all of Qi Yan's treasures were taken out. Go to hell! Lin Feng's expression was cold, and the tyrannical energy of heaven and earth pervaded outside of his body. Absorbing the milky white fog with a black dot, the ruthless aura entered the bottom of his heart, and Lin Feng's eyes were incomparably malevolent. Facing the enemy, he would not be merciful. The power of the Aurora Arc far surpassed the elemental fireball by countless times. Clang! The Aurora Arc instantly cut the battle blade in Qi Yan's hand into 2 pieces, and the attack that densely covered the entire space was simply unavoidable. The powerful qi recoiled into the heart meridian, and Qi Yan's internal organs violently churned. The sharp shield in front of him was also smashed into pieces the moment the battle blade was cut. The power of the Aurora Arc was extremely frightening. I don't want to die. Qi Yan's expression was incomparably hysterical. The defense in front of him was destroyed, and only a layer of thick and resplendent golden armor was left, and it seemed to have an incomparably strong defense. But in front of the Aurora Arc, it was like the Emperor's new clothes. Qi Yan was facing death. But at this moment, an astonishing and terrifying suction force instantly came from behind Lin Feng, crazily squeezing everything. In an instant, Lin Feng's expression changed drastically. In just an instant, his body was completely out of control. Lin Feng flew backward and disappeared in an instant. Plop! His legs were weak, and Qi Yan sat on the ground. His face was still filled with shock. He had never felt that he was so close to death. Drip, drip. Blood kept dripping from his chest, and the long wound was shocking. After coming back to his senses, Qi Yan felt his injuries. He felt a heart-wrenching pain that was suffocating. His chest was almost completely cut open, and the golden armor had long been shattered into pieces. But he was still alive, and Lin Feng had already been sucked into the bottomless abyss. Ha ha! Qi Yan's mouth twitched as he laughed. Ha 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 ha! To be continued, Episode 11, and, if you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidien. Come to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 231. What kind of spirit treasure is this? Scarlet Pheasant's eyes were filled with fear. His expression kept changing as the terrifying silver ark appeared in his mind. Scarlet Pheasant was clearly still in shock. If he had been a little bit later, the one who would have died would have been him. I didn't expect this Lin Feng to be so strong. The corner of Scarlet Pheasant's mouth twitched slightly. No wonder. With such strength, the great elder's death was not unjust. Shaking his head, Scarlet Pheasant laughed self-deprecatingly. I originally thought that after breaking through to the titled martial god and mastering the Tao of Strength, it would be easy to deal with Lin Feng. I didn't expect it, I really didn't expect it. Fortunately, I left a backup plan just in case. Scarlet Pheasant let out a long sigh of relief. Establishing the Assassin's Alliance and becoming a martial emperor, Scarlet Pheasant would leave a backup plan for himself step by step. Even though Scarlet Pheasant was 99% confident in dealing with Lin Feng this time, he still carefully arranged a backup plan just in case. Although most of the backup plans might not be used, as long as he could use it once, it was worth it. The defensive spirit treasure on his body was shattered, and the illusory armor was also destroyed. However, the crystal on Scarlet Pheasant's neck was still emitting a faint luster. Gently stroking this smooth feeling, Scarlet Pheasant's eyes shone. Without it, I'm afraid I would have been sucked into this bottomless abyss, right? He took out a life fruit from his bosom, chewed it, and swallowed it into his stomach. In an instant, the wound on Scarlet Pheasant's chest was healed. Letting out a long sigh, Scarlet Pheasant looked indifferently at the depths of the cave and said coldly, "Go and accompany the Black Mist Demon Dragon. Lin Feng, goodbye." No, it should be goodbye forever. Scarlet Pheasant turned around and walked away. What's going on? Lin Feng regained his senses. The surroundings were dark, and the sound of wind whistled in his ears. A huge suction force was constantly coming from the depth. I'm descending? Lin Feng was extremely shocked. His body felt an extremely strong gravity. Lin Feng tried to summon the cloud shuttle, but he found that there was no reaction. This place was like an empty space, and he couldn't sense anything, except for himself. Just now. Lin Feng frowned as he carefully recalled what had happened just now. In an instant, the memory fragments were projected one by one. Scarlet Pheasant. Lin Feng gritted his teeth. Although he was already on guard against him, he did not expect Red Pheasant's layout to be so tight. It was so meticulous that it made one's hair stand on end. He was like a cunning hunter who had set up one trap after another for him to step into. Did I kill him just now? Lin Feng thought carefully, but he wasn't sure. In his memory, the Aurora Arc finally cut open the golden armor, and then, there was nothing after that. Lin Feng's eyes were cold as he said, "It's best if he dies. Once and for all, everything will be over. If you're not dead, I'll settle this with you when I get out." Lin Feng slowly closed his eyes. His heart's eye was unable to disperse. In this empty space, there was only one thing that could be done: waiting. I definitely won't die like this. Lin Feng's willpower was incomparably firm. My family needs me. Ziyao is also waiting for me, and Lin Feng's mind flashed back to the scene in Firmament City. Tens of thousands of people cheered. He could not forget those pairs of sparkling eyes, tears of joy, and happiness of surviving a calamity. I will definitely survive. Lin Feng clenched his fists. At this moment, a white light flashed in front of him. In an instant, Lin Feng's heart seemed to have started beating again. Purring! Purring! Hua! The white light flashed. Lin Feng felt an incomparable darkness, but it was different from the darkness just now. It was a kind of darkness, not an empty darkness. His heart's eye instantly sensed something. Lin Feng's eyes immediately widened. The heart of soul in his mind spun rapidly. The feeling of control once again returned to his body. It was so familiar. In an instant, Lin Feng stopped his momentum and descended. This is... Lin Feng was abnormally shocked. As the heart of soul spun, the surrounding aura surged wildly. It was incomparably violent, as if it wanted to break through the shackles and break through the cage. The spiraling heaven and earth energy outside his body condensed into a black stream of air, as if he was wearing a black martial suit. Black fog. This thought inexplicably flashed in Lin Feng's mind. It was very strange, but it seemed very correct. It seems that I have actually come to the depths of the heavenly treasure world, Lin Feng thought to himself. Thinking back to the scene just now, it was as if he had fallen from the top of the funnel of the heavenly treasure world to the bottom of the funnel. Roar! A huge roar sounded, and the earth seemed to shake. In an instant, the roars of the magical beasts rose and fell, echoing each other. Lin Feng's eyebrows were tightly knitted, and his eyes were filled with awe. In an instant, a name that made him feel terrified appeared in his mind: Black Fog Demonic Dragon. Since I am here, I might as well take things as they come. Lin Feng took a deep breath and carefully restrained his aura. In this unfamiliar and extremely dangerous area, he could not make the slightest mistake. If he made a mistake, not only would he lose the entire game, he would also lose his life. Facing the unknown, facing fear. Many people would be defeated and their beliefs would collapse. Even if the situation was better, there would be many mistakes, and they would not be able to display their full strength. But Lin Feng was the exact opposite. When his mind was completely focused, when faced with a real predicament, Lin Feng could even maximize his potential. This was one's temperament. The more determined one's heart was, the more spacious the path of a martial artist would be. First, I need to familiarize myself with the environment and preserve my life. Secondly, in a situation where my life is not in danger, I need to return to the sky martial continent. Lin Feng thought to himself. The current situation was very vague, and he did not even know where he was, let alone where he was. And the most important thing was, how strong were the monsters here? This was a big problem. According to Ziyao, there are only two kinds of monsters here. Lin Feng's eyes sparkled: Black Fog Demonic Dragon and the Bewildering Fog Beast King. Black Fog Demonic Dragon, from the roar just now, it is definitely a real dragon. The loud and clear voice was filled with the domineering aura of a Beast King. This kind of aura was like the aura emitted by humans who had been in a high position for a long time. It was a kind of instinct, a kind of temperament. It was impossible to imitate. With my strength, even dealing with a first-stage Emperor-level beast is difficult, let alone a dragon. Lin Feng shook his head. He was very clear about his own strength. From the battle with the bewildering fog beast outside, even if he faced a first-stage Emperor-level beast, it would not be easy for him to win. And the dragon, at the same stage, was much stronger than an Emperor-level beast by several times. There were very few records. The only time the Sky Martial Continent had experienced a riot of 7th-stage beasts, until the end when the beasts attacked, only one dragon-type beast appeared. Golden Dragon Tyrannosaurus Rex. If only there was information about the Black Fog Demonic Dragon. Lin Feng thought. At this time, he couldn't help but think of the Arcade Hall. That rich and colorful miscellaneous hall had almost everything. When I bought the Fighting Spirit word book last time, there seemed to be a lot of books. I wonder if there is an introduction about the dragon? Lin Feng couldn't help but think. Perhaps there was very little information about the Sky Martial Continent, but in the distant Fighting Spirit world, the existence of the Pang Ran who looked down on the entire world, there would definitely be a very detailed record. It's a pity that every primordial relic is an independent space. I can't use any communication devices, let alone enter other areas. It was like a closed room with no windows, only a closed door. Only after going out of the door and out of the room could he return to his original world. No. In an instant, Lin Feng's eyes widened. His gaze suddenly looked at the locator on his left hand, which was still jumping. Although he seemed to be out of the range of the locator, he could still use it. What did this mean? How could I forget? This heavenly treasure world doesn't seem to be an independent space, but a complete world similar to the Sky Martial continent. Lin Feng's expression was shocked, his eyes glowing. Since the locator can be used, maybe the Dragon Star seal can be used too. Facing the sudden discovery and realization, Lin Feng felt a little excited. If there was a cultivation space that could be used, his chances of survival would undoubtedly increase greatly. However, now is not the time, Lin Feng thought. His current location was an unknown area, even if he could enter the cultivation space. But what if he came out? If he came out and landed in front of the Black Fog demonic dragon, he might not be able to survive even if he had a few lives. Let's first explore the environment. Lin Feng nodded, his eyes shining, then find a hidden place and try to enter the cultivation space. As soon as he thought of it, very quickly, Lin Feng shuttled forward, and in his senses, the aurora all appeared in his right hand, and he held it tightly. This was his biggest trump card to protect his life. Spreading out his mind's eye, he maintained a certain distance. In this area where the Black Fog demonic dragon appeared, Lin Feng didn't dare to be too presumptuous. While he was exploring, if the target was strong enough, he would be discovered. Lin Feng had tasted this in the Advanced Apprentice examination. Without a doubt, the Black Fog demonic dragon was definitely considered as a strong expert. Whoosh, whoosh. Lowering his body, Lin Feng was running at a high speed. In this dense black mist, Lin Feng looked like a tiny ant. Dragon roars constantly sounded in the sky, and the sound of flapping wings brought about a strong wind pressure. Even though he was far away, Lin Feng could clearly feel it. He could completely imagine that the sky was filled with Black Fog demonic dragons. Luckily, I have the cover of this pitch-black fog, Lin Feng thought. The pitch-black fog was like a natural barrier, concealing his figure. But there was a kind of existence that was born for this pitch-black fog. Just like in the white fog outside the heavenly treasure world, the fog beast senses, far surpassing human warriors. Because it was the fog. Not good. Lin Feng's face instantly changed. In his mind's eye, a pitch-black light was whizzing towards him. Its target was him. Fog Beast King. First update, stable update time, please vote .. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidien.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 232. Black fog shrouded the area and everything was pitch black. He couldn't see what it looked like, but he could sense that its aura was much stronger than the dense fog beast. A pair of sparkling eyes shone in the darkness. Fight! Lin Feng clenched his teeth. The aurora all in his right hand suddenly shone with silver light. It rose into the sky and made an intense tearing sound. It seemed to cut through the black fog, forming a huge vacuum. Facing an unprecedented challenge, Lin Feng's mind was extremely clear. Even his control of the aurora all had reached its peak. At the same time, Lin Feng's eyes were shining with the silver light. He could clearly see the monster in front of him. What he saw was a huge lion-like head. Its body proportions were extremely unbalanced. It was the dense fog beast. No, it was the dense fog beast king. Its iron-like body had two thick black halos. With just a glance, one could tell that it was much stronger than the dense fog beast. Most importantly, its eyes shone coldly, as if it was a terrifying beast. It was extremely ruthless. Aurora Arc! Lin Feng shouted. The The silver light shone and the ark made an ear-piercing sound as it flew towards the dense fog beast king. June. The silver ark expanded to its limit. 10 meters, 100 meters, it crazily rotated and cut the black fog into two. The huge disk covered the entire sky in the blink of an eye. The power of the aurora all instantly, ferociously exploding. But, pung! It collided violently. Lin Feng only felt his soul tremble. The aurora all he controlled seemed to have hit an indestructible iron brand. The reaction was extremely strong. Boom! His body trembled and he staggered. Lin Feng clenched his teeth. Cloud shuttle. A light flashed in the sky. Lin Feng grabbed the cloud shuttle with one hand and jumped up. He instantly streaked across the sky. Run! In the sky, a shocking dragon roar sounded. The battle just now finally alarmed the overlord of this heavenly treasure world, Black Fog Demonic Dragon. Its huge body covered the sky completely. The Black Fog Demonic Dragon roared in anger. The shocking sonic boom was accompanied by a strong aura. In an instant, it caused the black fog to flow chaotically. The terrifying aura caused Lin Feng to be startled. His mind was completely focused, and his soul heart was rapidly rotating. The energy of heaven and earth condensed into a black mist that spiraled around his body. Mind's eye. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Slap! Like a spiderweb spreading out to its limits, Chun Feng's heart's eye quickly activated. In his mind, dots of light covered the sky like stars. Lin Feng clenched his teeth, his eyes filled with a sharp light. He stepped on the cloud shuttle, whistling like the wind. In an instant, he turned into a stream of light. Chaos ensued. The rage-gray dragon roars continued, rising and falling like thunder. The group of black fog demonic dragons suddenly erupted. There was no room for a grain of sand in the eyes of a lover, and there was no room for any human in the eyes of the black fog demonic dragon. Demonic beasts and humans were natural enemies, fighting to the death. Especially the king of the demonic beasts, the dragon clan. They were like fire and water with humans. How could they coexist? Intruding into the habitat of the dragon clan? Only death awaited. I can't die here. Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly. At this moment, the Fog Beast King was chasing closely behind him, but the distance between them was constantly being pulled apart. In the distant sky, the terrifying black shadow let out a fierce dragon roar, but it was quickly approaching. A real dragon clan. Its strength far surpassed Lin Feng's. This is troublesome. Lin Feng clenched his teeth, his expression serious. The Fog Beast King was not afraid. Although its strongest attack, Aurora Arc, was unable to break through its defense, its strength far surpassed it. The troublesome thing was the terrifying group of black fog demonic dragons. Once they caught up, even if he had several lives, it would not be enough. I must quickly hide my presence and hide. Lin Feng nodded heavily, but it was not easy to get rid of the Fog Beast King behind him. With the black fog as the source, the Fog Beast King's sensing ability was far stronger than his. To get rid of it, there was only one way, out of its sensing range. But by then, the group of black fog demonic dragons would have already arrived. The Fog Beast King was like the watchdog of the black fog demonic dragons, extremely difficult to deal with. Was it too late? No. Lin Feng's eyes were like lightning. How could he lose his life here? Instantly, Lin Feng's soul heart spun rapidly, bringing a spiral of air current to gather. Space deceleration. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. At this most dangerous moment, his ultimate move was completely unleashed. Instantly, the Fog Beast King's body staggered, as if it had fallen into a swamp. The huge pressure from all directions caused its speed to drop to the freezing point. Hua! The cloud shuttle exploded rapidly, penetrating the thick black fog like a shooting star. At this moment, within Lin Feng's mind's eye, he could already see the incomparably terrifying silhouette of the nearest black mist demonic dragon. The distance is only 5 seconds. Lin Feng calculated in his mind. Facing an extremely dangerous situation, Lin Feng's mind was completely focused. He could not die here. 4, 3, 2, whoosh. The cloud shuttle flew past. Lin Feng's aura disappeared in an instant. Roar. An earth-shaking roar sounded. The huge body emitted an extremely terrifying aura. The angry roar shook the sky, as if it was venting its emotions. Here, in the heavenly treasure world, the black fog demonic dragon was the absolute king. Like a tiny ant, Lin Feng held his breath. Controlling his aura, Lin Feng hid in a pile of weeds under the cover of the thick black fog. After running for a while, his sense of direction was completely lost, but this was not important. What was important was that he was still alive. This place seems to be a hill, Lin Feng thought. From time to time, violent dragon roars could be heard. He could completely imagine the anger of the black fog demonic dragon. The earth shook violently, and a shocking aura enveloped this area. Obviously, the black fog demonic dragon did not plan to let him go. The fog beast king must not appear again. Lin Feng was secretly worried. Right now, he was not afraid of the black fog demonic dragon. Because of the existence of the thick black fog, with the black fog demonic dragon's huge body, if it wanted to find him in this large area, it would have to send out a large number of black fog demonic dragons to cover the entire area. Otherwise, a lowly existence like him would be like a stone on the ground. He would not be noticeable at all. The real trouble was the incarnation of the black fog, the fog beast king. I can't just sit here and wait for death. Lin Feng was very clear. If he kept hiding here, the danger would be even greater. Not to mention the increasing number of black fog demonic dragons. If another fog beast king appeared, then there would be no hope. Only death awaited. Lin Feng bent down and stretched out his hand to touch the ground of the hills. His eyes flashed. It seems a little wet, not from the rain, but there's a stream nearby. Growing up in the Lin family village, Lin Feng had some understanding of geography. It was this kind of inconspicuous knowledge that played a role at the most critical moment. It's not a stream. It should be a river or a lake. Lin Feng's eyes narrowed. Following the direction of the wet ground, he ran lightly, maintaining the most subtle speed. The fierce dragon roar was like thunder in his ears, shaking the ground and causing the black fog to constantly change. He could totally imagine how the black fog demonic dragon was hysterical and furious. Faster! In his ears, the black fog demonic dragon seemed to be crazily destroying this area. In order to catch him, the black fog demonic dragon did not care about anything. Boom! Rumble! A violent explosion sounded, shaking the heavens and the earth. The black hole clouds seemed to want to swallow the entire hill. Lin Feng's expression changed slightly. He was lucky to have escaped. If he was still hiding there, he would probably be crazily destroyed together with the hill. Whoosh! Lin Feng's figure was like lightning. Although he could not sense it, just by listening to the dragon roar one after another, he knew that the black fog demonic dragon was increasing. A terrifying aura enveloped the entire area, causing everything to tremble in fear. This was the truly powerful dragon clan. The sound of water. Lin Feng was pleasantly surprised. As far as his eyes could see, the black fog seemed to have thinned a little, and the ground under his feet became more moist. Over there. Lin Feng's eyes were incomparably bright as he ran wildly. Because the black fog was too thick, he could not see the existence of the river at all, and he could not use his mind's eye. But experience and intuition told him that it was not far ahead, and he could touch it. Very, very close. But danger always came in an instant. The ground was shaking. Different from the violent shaking of the black fog demonic dragon, it was a slight vibration. Behind him, in the thick black fog, there was a familiar figure that seemed to be gradually becoming clearer. It's here again. Lin Feng's eyes were cold and sharp. The Fog Beast King, the watchdog of the black fog demonic dragon, the most difficult existence to deal with. It was like a maggot attached to the bone. However, goodbye. Lin Feng's mouth curled into a faint smile. As the black fog in front of him became thinner and thinner, the huge clear river entered his eyes. Lin Feng was like a flying bird as he leaped into it. In an instant, he entered the water with a plop. Behind him, a fog beast king bared its teeth, its eyes filled with ruthlessness. The three black halos were incomparably bright, but the fog beast king could only watch as Lin Feng jumped into the water, unable to move. In the water, there was no black fog. The sensing suddenly stopped. That was close. Lin Feng let out a long breath. The world in the water and the world outside seemed to be two different worlds. With the water as a barrier, Lin Feng was no longer afraid of the black fog demonic dragon's sensing. The heart's eye spread out, and everything in the river entered his mind. Although he couldn't sense anything above the river, the black fog demonic dragon couldn't sense the situation in the water either. Air and water were two completely different mediums. There doesn't seem to be any danger. Lin Feng let out a long breath. What he was most worried about was that there might be some danger in the river. That would be really bad. This was a rather ordinary river with nothing special about it. However, this was the safest and most reliable way. It was an excellent refuge. Chapter 233. Let's find a place to stay first. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. The feeling of control filled his entire body. His soul heart spun rapidly, and the energy of heaven and earth whizzed over. It was everywhere. Lin Feng's body was surrounded by spiral-shaped air current. Although it was not as strong as in the heavenly treasure world, it was not much different from the Tianwu continent. The water around him flowed rapidly. Lin Feng's body seemed to be covered by an invisible light shield, isolating the water flow. Whoosh, whoosh. The sound of water flowed into his ears. According to Ziyao, the heavenly treasure world is shaped like a funnel. In other words, the direction of the water flow is the bottom of the funnel. Lin Feng murmured, and his eyes shone brightly. Any clue about the heavenly treasures world was extremely important. If I want to leave this place, I must first return to the outer layer of the heavenly treasure world, the white fog area, which is upstream of the river. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Going in the opposite direction of the water flow is the most correct and safest path. His mind was clear and his thoughts were clear. To him, leaving this place alive was his only goal. Let's go. Lin Feng did not waste any time. If he delayed, there would be changes. Who knew what those furious black fog demonic dragons would do? It was as if they had some irreconcilable enmity with him. It was too crazy. He had to leave this area and make plans later. Whoosh. In an instant, Lin Feng's figure disappeared. At this moment, the area above the river was already shaking like thunder. Thousands of densely packed black fog demonic dragons covered the entire sky. The nearby area was in a mess. The hills and mountains were all destroyed, and not an inch of land was left. Dragon roars rose and fell, and they were filled with anger. It was deafening. In order to find that insignificant human, the group of black fog demonic dragons had already gone into a frenzy. This was the true habitat of the dragon clan. Black Fog Demonic Dragon Valley. City in the Sky. East District, Tianwu Army's territory. Father Yu. Zhu Peti's face was incomparably aghast. The scene in front of him really gave him a fright. He looked around and saw a mountain of crystal stones. Dense heaven and earth energy was emitted. This pure white crystal mountain had at least a few thousand heavenly treasure crystals. The one at the top was even more astonishing. It had a diameter of nearly half a meter, like a resplendent pearl. The glaring light made Jupiter completely dumbstruck. Heavens, this heavenly treasure crystal! Jupiter had never seen such a large heavenly treasure crystal before. It was at least 500 celestial treasure points. If all the heavenly treasure crystals were added together, it would probably exceed 100,000 heavenly treasure points. This is all of Father's belongings. There was a glimmer in the commander's eyes as he gently stroked the huge, celestial gem at the top. He looked as if he was looking at his own child. There's a total of about 6,000 gems and 200,000 celestial gem points. More than 200,000 heavenly treasure points? Jupiter gulped. It was twice as much as he estimated. He only had a total of 2,000 heavenly treasure points, and he didn't need to buy any treasures, mental cultivation techniques, weapons, etc. Plus, as one of the 8 great leaders, he could enter the heavenly treasure ancient ruins countless times more than the other martial gods. Even the powerful left martial Thunderbolt and right martial Green Flood Dragon only had a little over 1,000 heavenly treasure points after becoming martial gods for over 100 years. But Father, heavens! There's nothing to be surprised about. The commander said calmly, I was the one who discovered the heavenly treasure ancient ruins 100 years ago. It was my first time entering, so naturally, I had a lot of heavenly treasure crystals. Unlike now, it's only condensed for a short time before it's taken away. Jupiter nodded in realization. The benefits of exploring a wasteland were obviously great. Unfortunately, we can't enter the inner layer of the heavenly treasure world, the Black Mist Dragon Valley, the commander said with a hint of regret. The commander said regretfully, his eyes revealing a faint light, otherwise there are even more black heavenly treasure crystal. The energy contained within is many times more abundant than the white heavenly treasure crystal. With the Black Mist Dragon there, going in would be suicide. Father, we can let the other generals in. Jupiter's brows relaxed. If we only move around at the edge of the inner layer and conceal our auras, the Black Mist Dragon shouldn't notice us, right? The commander looked at his son with a complicated look in his eyes. After a long while, the commander shook his head. I will not let any of my generals take this risk. Moreover, according to the records, other than the Black Mist Dragon clan residing in the Black Mist Dragon Valley, there are also countless Fog Beast kings. Their defenses are even stronger than the Fog Beast, and their perception is even higher. A woman's benevolence. Jupiter thought in his heart, but he didn't dare to say it out loud. A faint light flashed across his eyes, but it disappeared in a flash. Father, then why did you bring me here? Jupiter suddenly changed the topic. Cultivation. The commander's answer was straightforward. Father, what do you mean? Jupiter looked at the pile of heavenly treasure crystals, his eyes instantly shining. The commander nodded his head. Putty, you are already at the peak of the 7th step martial god. The reason why you have not broken through is because you do not have enough soul energy, so you are still unable to form a qualitative change and condense a soul heart. Listening to his father's words, Jupiter nodded. If he could condense a soul heart and break through, how could he have lost to Lin Feng? Using the heavenly treasure crystal to create an expert. The commander shook his head. The price is too great. Hearing his father's words, Jupiter's eyes immediately lit up. Father meant, but extraordinary times call for extraordinary things. After all, the heavenly treasure crystal is a dead object. It's useless to keep it. The commander looked at his son with a burning gaze. According to my estimations, after devouring and refining these heavenly treasure crystal, before the end of the 100-day period, Putty, you will definitely be able to break through and surpass the titled martial god. Become an initial star ranker. The commander said seriously. Thank you, father. Jupiter was overjoyed. Heavenly Treasure World, Inner Layer. In a huge river, a black figure was moving forward at high speed. His speed was as fast as a swordfish, breaking through the water flow. His body emitted a faint glow. Luckily, I have practiced movement techniques in the Migres Palace for 10 days and 10 nights. Although I'm still at the first level, my control ability has increased by several times. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. He couldn't use the cloud shuttle in the river. He could only rely on his own speed to move forward. Luckily, he had practiced movement techniques before, so he wasn't too slow. As expected, for martial artists, a balanced development is also beneficial. Lin Feng smiled. Although he was in such an environment, he had to face it optimistically and positively. Any negative emotions would only do more harm than good to solve problems. However, that black fog demonic dragon is really strong. The maximum speed I can control with the cloud shuttle is far beyond my own strength, but it's actually several times faster than me. Lin Feng was speechless. One had to know that the weakest aspect of demonic beasts was speed. After all, their bodies were too big. However, the black fog demonic dragon was far faster than him. What about the rest? He didn't need to think to know, as expected of the dragon race. Lin Feng clicked his tongue. A scene appeared in his mind. The beast horde's rampage would erupt. A large number of dragons would cover the sky and cover the earth and sweep the entire sky martial continent. What kind of scene would that be? It was too terrifying. Huff, Lin Feng exhaled deeply and shook his head. The 100-day period isn't up yet. Nothing is set yet. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. I can't give up until the last moment. I must protect the human race and survive. Clenching his fists, Lin Feng revealed an incomparably determined expression. His strength would still increase. The existence of the Alcade Palace was his trump card. In addition, when the primordial fire in my body burns out, I will become a true titled martial god. My strength will reach a whole new level. Lin Feng nodded heavily. The determination and confidence in his eyes never disappeared. At that time, I will definitely be able to fight with these dragons. But first, I have to leave this damned place that is besieged on all sides. Lin Feng's eyes lit up as he continued to speed forward. For 2 days and 2 nights, he relied on his own speed to overcome the obstruction of the water flow. Lin Feng finally reached the upstream. Is this the end? Lin Feng looked at the stone wall in front of him and said softly. The sound of water splashing could be heard. It was as if it was falling from the sky, constantly replenishing the river water that was flowing down. Let's go out and take a look. Lin Feng's eyes flickered. He slowly floated up along the stone wall with a hint of vigilance in his heart. Everything was filled with the unknown. I wonder if I have already returned to the outer region? Lin Feng thought, but he knew that the possibility was not high. He held his breath and completely restrained his aura. Lin Feng's eyes flickered with a faint luster. In the surging river, a head suddenly popped out. Carefully observing the surroundings, Lin Feng's expression became much more relaxed. Looking at it, although it was still filled with black fog, it was not the usual pitch-black color. Instead, it was a faint black color. The density of the fog was also different, but he did not know if it was because of the water flow. Splash! A huge waterfall poured down. Lin Feng deeply breathed in the fresh and free air and closed his eyes. So comfortable. The deafening dragon's roar still lingered in his mind. The huge black shadow was like a nightmare that haunted him. The near-death experience 2 days ago was deeply imprinted in his mind, as if it was a lifetime ago. Finally, he escaped. His depression was relieved. Although it seemed that he was still in the inner region, judging from the density of the fog, it proved that his strategy was correct. It was a good start. It seems that I won't be able to get out in 2 or 3 days. Lin Feng nodded. As long as he was still shrouded in the black fog, danger would always be by his side. Let's find a place to stay first, then slowly think of a way. Lin Feng glanced at the huge waterfall, and a faint smile appeared on his face. Let's go there. Third update, brothers and sisters, please click on the recommendation ticket. Thank you. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidien.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 234. Behind the waterfall. The sound of water could be heard continuously, as if it was raining heavily. Floating in the air, Lin Feng's eyes were like lightning. In an instant, he punched out with his right fist, which sounded like thunder and lightning. Bang! The huge stone wall made a huge trembling sound and turned into countless stones that fell down. With Lin Feng's current physical strength, even an ordinary punch would have great power. However, there was only a single hole in the enormous mountain wall. Oh! Lin Feng's eyes flashed. Such a hard stone wall. Lin Feng was very clear about his own strength. Although he held back, that punch just now was enough to open up a 10-meter deep cave. However, he only managed to create a hole in it. Pa, the stones fell down, accompanied by the rapid sound of the waterfall. It was like a piece of music that was pleasing to the ears. Lin Feng's expression changed slightly. He bent down and looked down. His eyes were filled with confusion. The sound of the stones falling seems a bit abnormal. What is that? Echo? Lin Feng said in surprise. Could it be that there is a natural cave under the waterfall? With this thought in mind, Lin Feng immediately sped down. Swoosh! He was like a sharp arrow. With a flash, Lin Feng arrived in the blink of an eye. There really is a natural cave. Lin Feng's eyes lit up, and a faint smile appeared on his face. The cave was not big, but it was not small either. It felt a little damp. Lin Feng's expression kept changing. He was extremely shocked. There are two kinds of energy faintly seeping out of the cave? Lin Feng said in surprise. Moreover, he was quite familiar with one of the energies. White fog. Stepping in, Lin Feng was curious. The faint energy permeated the air, and it got deeper and deeper. It was not mud or stone under his feet, but a kind of strange crystal. The light green light reflected on the cave, and it complemented the white stalactites, forming a beautiful picture. So beautiful! Lin Feng exclaimed softly. Although the entrance of the cave was not big, it was extremely spacious inside. The soothing aura was accompanied by a hazy mist. It was like a paradise, a stark contrast to the thick black mist outside. That saved me a lot of effort. Lin Feng smiled. His heart's eye spread out, and his eyes suddenly lit up. As expected, there are different energy auras on the left and right. The cave was very big, and there were even more forks extending in all directions. Under the division of the strangely shaped stalactites, it formed a maze-like existence. But to Lin Feng, who could use mind's eye, this stalactite cave was like taking off one's clothes. There were no secret. Let's go to the left first. Lin Feng nodded. The aura on his left side was very warm, making him feel very close. Stepping forward, he walked in the direction he sensed. Lin Feng curiously looked at the strangely shaped stalactites along the way. There were bamboo shoots, pillars, curtains, grapes, flowing clouds, waves, and all kinds of them. They were like sculptures. With a thought, Lin Feng gently touched them. Oh my God! In an instant, Lin Feng's expression changed drastically. These stalactites are actually heavenly treasure crystals? It was cool to the touch, with a familiar feeling of heaven and earth energy. No, they're not heavenly treasure crystals. Lin Feng shook his head. Then, he carefully examined these stalactites. They were fundamentally different from heavenly treasure crystals. Heavenly treasure crystals were formed by pure heaven and earth energy, But these stalactites were formed by the condensation of two types of energy. Other than the aura of heaven and earth energy, there was also a strong sense of vitality. It was full of life, like green grass. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly. Lin Feng suddenly smiled. Although in terms of purity, these stalactites were indeed inferior to heavenly treasure crystals, but it's too big. Lin Feng casually broke a stalactite. It was 1 meter long and half a meter wide. It was in the shape of a sharp cone. Sensing the aura within, Lin Feng smiled and said, "If we're talking about the heaven and earth energy contained within, it's at least equivalent to 100 heavenly treasure points, right?" And this was not even a third of the stalagmite's length. As far as the eye could see, there were innumerable stalactites like this. Looking up, just the dense stalactites at the top that looked like torture nails were enough to make one's heart tremble. "How many heavenly treasure points is this worth?" Lin Feng shook his head. His heart focused, and then he walked forward. He felt that the place with the densest energy aura on the left was the source of the stalactite's formation. At the same time, it was also the source of the strange life energy in the stalactites. What a strong aura of life! Lin Feng's eyes lit up. The closer he got to the mind's eye, the stronger the aura of life energy became. It entered his ears and nose, making him feel refreshed. After passing through a few forks in the road, suddenly, his eyes suddenly opened up. "It's here." Lin Feng's expression was shocked. What he saw in front of him seemed to be an orchard. Nearly 10 huge fruit trees were in full bloom. The full color of the fruits was shrouded by the aura, appearing extremely hazy. The fresh aura of the fruit trees, together with the faint aura in the air, formed an existence like a fairyland. Looking closer, the spirit aura dissipated by half. At this moment, Lin Feng finally saw the fruit clearly. "Oh my God!" Lin Feng was completely stunned. His eyes were wide open, filled with disbelief. Fruit of life? A top-grade spirit fruit, the fruit of life. Legend had it that it could heal any injury. With enough life energy, it could even regrow a person's limbs. That day at the Martial God auction house, Lin Feng had relied on Tianqing to give him one. But now there were a total of 9 fruit of life trees. The largest one was full of fruits of life, with at least a few hundred of them, full of color. Even the smallest fruit of life tree had more than 100 fruits blooming on it when Lin Feng glanced at it. Unbelievable! Legend has it that there are fruit of life trees in the depths of the primordial world, but they usually bear a few fruits, at most a dozen. Dozens are already very impressive. Lin Feng muttered in surprise, "This place is simply unbelievable. How can there be so many fruits of life?" Lin Feng's eyes instantly lit up. Yes, this was the feeling of life energy. One of the energy auras formed by the stalactites. There must be a demon behind this abnormality. Obviously, this rich life energy aura did not come from the fruit of life trees. Instead, there. Lin Feng's eyes were like lightning. Just like the river had a source, the life energy aura also had a source. In the middle of the 9 fruit of life trees, there was a strange vortex. The spiral-shaped aura rose from the vortex and circled above the entire orchard. First, it was absorbed by the fruit of life trees, and then slowly seeped out. It formed a single cycle. In an instant, Lin Feng was enlightened. So that was how it was. Stepping out from the left, Lin Feng immediately walked to the right. The color of the fog on the right gradually deepened and became denser. If I'm not wrong, the energy aura on the right must be that white fog. Lin Feng's eyes were bright. It was not difficult to guess. Since it could form stalactites, it had the same natural energy as the heavenly treasure crystals. The answer, it was already on the verge of being revealed. With a casual wave of his hand, the top of a stalactite was cut off. Grabbing it with one hand, Lin Feng held it in his palm. Feeling the cool temperature, he smiled. As expected, The natural energy contained in the stalactites here surpasses the life energy. Even the color was slightly different. The one on the right was more white, while the one on the left was like a crystal. The difference in energy aura created the different stalactite. Following the perception of his mind's eye, he slowly walked forward. The fog became thicker and thicker. Soon, after turning a few forks, his eyes were suddenly bright. Wow! Even though Lin Feng was mentally prepared, he couldn't help but be shocked by the scene in front of him. It was densely packed. The huge thick fog covered the entire space. Bright white crystals floated in the air one after another. The small ones were the size of a palm, and the big ones were like sculptures. They were about the same size as his body. Lin Feng was completely stunned by such a shocking scene. Tens of thousands of heavenly treasure crystals. It was terrifying. The big heavenly treasure crystal probably has more than 1,000 heavenly treasure points. Even the small heavenly treasure crystal has nearly 100 heavenly treasure points. Lin Feng's gaze swept across. He could barely see the small heavenly treasure crystal. His face was filled with shock. The heavenly treasure crystal in this space was at least 1,000,000 heavenly treasure points. Phew! Lin Feng let out a long breath. His chest heaved up and down, unable to calm down. It was really too shocking. This dense natural energy aura. Lin Feng looked in the opposite direction of the aura. Instantly, Lin Feng's eyes lit up. It was exactly the same as the one on the left. He saw that in the middle of the thick fog, there was a huge whirlpool. The spiral-shaped aura rose from the whirlpool and circled the entire space. It was as if there was something special in the whirlpool that was creating the dense white fog. With a casual grab, Lin Feng's hands had 2 more heavenly treasure crystals. They were heavy. The cool energy aura entered his heart. Lin Feng's body trembled slightly, and the soul heart in his mind spun rapidly. In a split second, the 4th level of the mystery of soul was activated. A spiral-shaped aura formed around his body and entered his heart to become the food for his soul force. Instantly, Lin Feng's mind buzzed. His soul heart shone, and the aura of solitude spread out. What a terrifying cultivation speed! Lin Feng was extremely shocked. Compared to the outer layer of the heavenly treasure world, the efficiency here was much higher, and the speed of his soul force increase was much faster. Is it because the white fog is denser? Lin Feng's eyes lit up. With a thought, he instantly moved to the side of the whirlpool. Instantly, the aura of the white fog became even more intense. The spiral-shaped aura around his body condensed into a thick white light. Shocking density. As expected, the closer I get to the whirlpool, the more abundant the white fog becomes. Lin Feng was pleasantly surprised. This was a very good holy land for cultivation. First update, to those who support Little Brother, please subscribe to support. Thank you. If you don't subscribe, it will affect your morale and fighting spirit. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidien. Come to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 235. Consciousness Doppelganger. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. His body suddenly became hazy, as if there were 2 intersecting planes. His mind shook slightly. It was as if his soul was split into 2, and his body was also split into 2. A strange feeling came to his mind again. Whoosh! A faint shadow appeared, and 2 Lin Feng sat facing each other. His consciousness doppelganger instinctively used the 4th page of Secrets of Soul. His life spirit spun rapidly, madly absorbing the white fog produced by the vortex. The speed of the increase of his soul power could be seen with the naked eye. His body was completely shrouded in the white fog, and the original shadow became even more hazy. Smack! Lin Feng opened his eyes, which had lost some of their luster. Compared to the life spirit, the human soul was undoubtedly weaker. Without forming the soul heart, it could not absorb the unusually abundant energy of heaven and earth. What a pity! Lin Feng sighed softly, but he did not mind. First take the sky gem, then the fruit of life, and finally, Lin Feng's face bloomed with a smile. Take all the stalactites. How could he return empty-handed when he came to a treasure land? Heavenly treasure crystals, fruits of life, stalactites, these heavenly treasures were all extremely valuable. Not to mention the astonishing amount, especially the stalactite. Every corner of the huge cave was densely covered with strangely shaped stalactites. Some of them had strong life auras, and some were rich in heaven and earth energy. No one knew how many decades, centuries, or even tens of thousands of years had passed. Begin. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. The heavenly treasure, primordial ruins whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 4 consecutive flashes of white light appeared, and 4 figures appeared almost at the same time. Some were smiling, some were disappointed, but there was one person who had a look of surprise on his face. Sect Leader Qi. What's wrong, Sect Leader Qi? All the martial gods looked at Qi Yen with a puzzled look. Suddenly, the general of the Tianwu army swept his gaze across the crowd, and his expression changed. Lin Feng? Guardian Lin didn't come back? As soon as his voice fell, the crowd was in an uproar. Entering the sky gem ancient ruins had always been the same thing. The spatial portal would not wait for anyone. Lin Feng didn't come out. His meaning was obvious. He was dead. It can't be, right? One of the martial gods frowned. How is this possible? The general of the Tianwu army was also shocked. Lin Feng's strength had long been famous in Sky City. The battle between him and Zhu Pidi could be called a classic. Everyone knew about it. Even against the stage 7 martial god Lin Feng, who was able to freely control the origin fireball with one hand, he could easily defeat him. How could he die in a mere heavenly treasure primordial relic? What a joke! Lin Feng must have been careless. Red Pheasant sighed. That's true. One of the martial gods nodded. Although the chance of dying in the heavenly treasures world is only 1 in 1,000, it is still dangerous. No one can predict unexpected things. Qi Yen shook his head. Go back. I will report this matter. Yes, Sect Leader Qi, the martial gods took their leave. To them, Lin Feng's death didn't mean anything. Although they felt that it was a pity, they didn't have any friendship in the first place. If he died, then he died. Walking on the path of a martial artist, death was a very normal thing. City in the Sky. Western District, Hunter Organization's territory. The sound of the galloping wind was like lightning. It was the Moon Emperor who was immersed in reading the ancient book. He couldn't help but raise his head. A burst of fragrant wind blew over, and a purple figure entered his sight. It was like a beautiful violet, but that small face was deathly pale. Her long eyelashes trembled, and her eyes faintly carried shock and fear, as if she was a frightened little rabbit. Elder sister. Outside. Ziyao bit her lips tightly, as if her heart was about to shatter. Is the matter with Linda Gutrue? Toward the end, her voice was as soft as a mosquito's. Ziyao's body trembled inexplicably, and her eyes were filled with panic. She looked at the Moon Emperor with anticipation, hoping to receive a denial and comfort from her elder sister. However, she was disappointed. It's true. The Moon Emperor's expression was calm. Lin Feng didn't come out of the heavenly treasure world. Boom! Ziyao's head shook, and the world spun. She seemed to have lost her balance, and the world seemed to have lost its color. At that moment, Ziyao felt as if the sky had collapsed. 2 streams of clear tears fell uncontrollably. Life seemed to have lost its meaning. No, this can't be true, Ziyao murmured. Her heartbroken expression was pitiful. No matter how strong she was, she was just a little girl, a girl who had just fallen in love. Don't be sad, Ziyao. There's still room for negotiation. The Moon Emperor's eyes shone brightly, and her calm voice caused Ziyao to raise her head. Her tear-stained face widened as she looked at the Moon Emperor. Her heartbroken heart seemed to have a glimmer of hope. The Moon Emperor sighed softly. Looking at her younger sister's expression, the Moon Emperor's heart twisted slightly. She didn't expect her younger sister's first love to be so deep. Lin Feng isn't dead yet, the Moon Emperor said with a nod. In an instant, Ziyao's eyes shone again. It was as if spring had arrived, and everything was coming back to life. Is this true, elder sister? Oh, you. The Moon Emperor couldn't help but laugh. When it comes to your Lindigo, you're always at a loss. Where did your usual wisdom and calmness go? The martial god tablet. Ziyao seemed to have woken up from a dream. She covered her mouth in shock. Elder sister, are you saying that Lindiji's name hasn't disappeared from the martial god tablet? The martial god tablet could not only test the martial god's strength and level. It was also a mark of life. For example, after Ziluan and the fire god died, the mark they left on the martial god tablet would disappear. However, Lin Feng didn't. This meant that he was still alive. That's great. Ziyao smiled through her tears. Her beautiful face was glowing again. At that moment, when she lost Lindigo, she felt as if she had lost her heart. The whole world suddenly collapsed. Don't be too optimistic, younger sister. The Moon Emperor shook her head and said seriously, although Lin Feng is still alive, he must have encountered great trouble and can't come back successfully. Basically, there's only one possibility. Lin Feng entered the Black Mist Demonic Dragon Valley. The Moon Emperor's eyes shone brightly. Lindigo will definitely come back alive. Ziyao's eyes were filled with determination. Are you that confident? The Moon Emperor said with a smile. Ziyao smiled and nodded. The Alliance of Assassins. Lin Feng isn't dead yet? Qi Yan's eyes revealed a fierce glint. She didn't expect that Lin Feng would still be alive after entering the Black Mist Demonic Dragon Valley. This kid is really lucky, Qi Yan sneered. It seems that he has found a place to hide. However, how long can he hide for? Even if he's alive, he's at death's door. Does he want to come out of the Black Mist Demonic Dragon Valley? Dream on. Qi Yan's eyes were filled with disdain. Lin Feng was very busy. He swept through the heavenly treasure crystals and picked up money until his hands went limp. Suddenly, he realized that the cube ring was not enough. So the cube ring has a space limit? Lin Feng frowned slightly. He didn't expect this at all. There was clearly a lot of space, but after storing thousands of heavenly treasure crystals, the cube ring could no longer store them. It was like a bottle filled with stones. It should be because of the energy. Lin Feng nodded thoughtfully. He felt that the cube ring could still store many items, but the heaven and earth energy contained in the heavenly treasure crystals was too great. It exceeded the cube ring's capacity. Troublesome. Lin Feng shook his head. He had only taken less than 10% of the heavenly treasure crystals, but it was already full? There are still so many fruits of life and stalactites. Isn't it a waste? Lin Feng frowned. Right. Arcade Hall. I haven't had the chance. Lin Feng's eyes flickered with a bright luster. From the moment he entered this area, he wanted to test it out. However, things didn't go as he wished. He encountered the terrifying Black Mist Demonic Dragon Horde's attack and escaped with his life. He had forgotten about this idea. But now, let's give it a try. Combine. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Immediately, his body swayed, and the avatar beside the vortex disappeared. His mind was clear. The return of his life soul suppressed his human soul and took the lead. His soul heart spun rapidly. Lin Feng's eyes were bright with joy. In a short time, my soul power has increased. This is indeed a holy land for cultivation. With the increase of my soul power, I can better control the origin fireball and cultivate the higher form of the aurora all. his strength would definitely increase greatly. But now, Dragon Star Seal. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Suddenly, the Dragon Star Seal on his right hand flashed with a bright luster. Whoosh! White light flashed. I was right. Lin Feng looked at the cloud-like world around him and smiled. Just as he expected, the heavenly treasure world wasn't an independent space. It was a real world. The fact that the locator could be used was enough to prove everything. I wonder if the communicator can be used? Lin Feng muttered to himself. However, he was also worried about his family and Ziyao. He shook his head and threw these thoughts to the back of his mind. With a slight movement, Lin Feng disappeared into the sea of clouds and rushed toward Alcade Hall. Miscellaneous Hall. This was the most complicated palace in the Alcade Palace, as well as the palace with the most variety. It had almost everything that one could think of. It was dazzling. I need to find a spatial artifact with a large capacity. Lin Feng thought to himself. I need to find some ancient books and materials to understand the Black Mist demonic dragon. I wonder if there are any books that describe the heavenly treasure world? The more he knew, the safer he would be. In this unfamiliar place, to learn how to protect himself, he had to understand the environment. With the existence of the Alcade Hall, my chances of returning to the Tianwu continent will be higher. Lin Feng smiled. In the Alcade Hall, as long as there were enough starlight points, there was no problem that couldn't be solved. As for himself, he still had 15.9 million starlight points. Enough. Second update, brothers, I support your subscriptions. Please come to Qidian to support Xiao Xiao. To be continued. If you like this work, please come to Qidian.com to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 236. No wonder there are storage-type treasures in the Spirit Treasure Palace. Lin Feng muttered to himself. At that time, he was quite curious as to how a small storage-type accessory could be counted as a spirit treasure. But now, he understood. The storage space seemed to be limitless, but in reality it was limited, depending on the strength of the item. But storage-type treasures are easy to find, there is no rush. Lin Feng looked around as he walked. The main reason he entered the miscellaneous palace was for the ancient book. To increase his knowledge, and a deeper understanding of warriors. Most importantly, Black Mist Demon Dragon. This terrifying existence, Lin Feng still could not forget. The scene of being chased by it was deeply engraved in his mind. In the end, if he did not escape into the river, the outcome would be unpredictable. The Black Mist Demon Dragon's hostility towards humans was too strong. But there are not many books in the miscellaneous palace. Lin Feng muttered. Pharmacy, refining 10 types of giant poison, refining 3 ways of refining, etc. He could not even understand them. They seemed to be some miscellaneous books. Lin Feng muttered. Books about the cultivation levels of warriors, I can't find them here. Lin Feng shook his head and walked forward. Lin Feng suddenly smiled. Then, he suddenly understood. That's right. The books here are all relatively precious. They're for sale. Thinking about it, he might not understand the cultivation levels of warriors. But how could the warriors of the Douling world not know? Just like in the Tianwu continent, martial warriors, martial grandmasters, martial emperors, and even titled martial gods, every martial artist was clear about this. This did not need to be bought with money, it was a kind of common knowledge. Lin Feng suddenly stopped. In front of him was a thick set of books. There were a total of 3 books, almost a third of the Douling word book. Looking at it, there was a faint luster on the ancient cover, there were 4 words written on it, or illustrated handbook. Oh! Lin Feng's eyes twinkled. He knew nothing about ores. Immediately, the thick stone walls of the stalactite cave and the green crystals on the ground appeared in his mind. There was also the terrifying number of stalactites. It seemed that, were they all ores? 100,000 starlight points? Lin Feng clicked his tongue. Although it was only a third of the thickness of the Doling word booklet, the price was exactly the same. The introduction clearly stated, "Gather all known minerals, metals, and crystals in the Doling world." "I'll buy it." Lin Feng did not hesitate. In this advanced cultivation space, he had all the time in the world. If he did not go to the Holy Palace, other than practicing his spear techniques and comprehending the realm of the spear art, the only thing he could do was, he was reading books. With a time ratio of 1001, he could grasp a lot of knowledge in just 2 hours. Clearly, this was an excellent use of efficiency. If I familiarize myself with this set of or illustration handbook, I won't miss out on any of the invaluable ores. Lin Feng looked at the word all on the introduction, his eyes glowing. If he missed out on heaven and earth treasures because of his lack of knowledge, that would be too stupid. I wonder if there is an introduction to this stalactite? Lin Feng read and picked up the set of or illustration handbook. The dragon star imprint on his right hand flickered, his balance displayed 15.8 million starlight points. 100,000 starlight points to Lin Feng was just a drizzle. He continued to walk forward, searching. After a while, found it. Lin Feng stopped, his eyes glowing. Demon Beast Record collects over 1.08 billion types of demon beasts. The introduction was only a short sentence, but it was extremely shocking, causing one to be dumbstruck. Lin Feng looked at the book that was 10 times thicker than the Doling word booklet, his eyes staring blankly. Even with the time ratio of 1001 in the advanced cultivation space, how long would it take for him to finish reading it? The price even exceeded the Doling word booklet, reaching 300,000 starlight points. To buy or not to buy? Lin Feng frowned, his eyes glowing. Buy. He had to buy. In the inner layer of the heavenly treasure world, if he could understand more about the Black Mist demonic dragon, he would have a higher chance of survival. Compared to his life, what was 300,000 starlight points? Hua, the dragon star imprint flickered. Purchase successful. After buying the 2 sets of books, Lin Feng immediately entered the spiritual treasure palace. It wasn't hard to choose a storage-type spiritual treasure. Just like weapons, you get what you pay for. The higher the star level, the more expensive it would be. Similarly, the better the quality. I'll take this. Lin Feng's eyes glowed. Purple ring, 3-star spiritual treasure. Price, 1.5 million starlight points. It was a pair of storage rings with matching designs. One of them had a faint purple glow, while the other had a flame engraving. They complemented each other, reflecting each other's radiance. It was filled with extreme beauty. Lin Feng fell in love with it at first sight. This was it. Affinity, not bad. The price of a 3-star spiritual treasure was around 1 million starlight points. As for the purple ring, it was a set of 2.5 million starlight points, which wasn't considered expensive. It was within an acceptable range. I wonder if Zi Yao will like it? Lin Feng revealed a smile. Looking at this pair of rings was like looking at himself and Zi Yao. It was filled with warmth and happiness. Wearing the purple ring with the flame engraving on his finger, Lin Feng clenched his fist. His eyes glowed. Wait for me, Zi Yao, Lin Feng muttered. I will definitely return. Lin Feng didn't stay in the Arcade Palace for too long. Soon, he came out, sitting cross-legged on the huge cloud, enjoying the tranquility. Lin Feng took out the entire set of Demon Beast record, and couldn't help but shake his head. Too much. It was 10 times thicker than a set of 10 volumes of Fighting Spirit. Heavens, looking at the piles of books that were taller than him, Lin Feng was speechless. Are there really so many demon beasts? Lin Feng found it hard to believe. From what he knew, there were only a few million demon beasts. But in this set of demon beast record, there were a total of 1.08 billion demon beasts. Lin Feng was very curious. So it's because the direction of evolution is different, resulting in a large variety of demon beasts. Lin Feng suddenly understood. Reading the opening of the demon beast record, Lin Feng learned a lot of basic knowledge. When demon beasts absorbed spiritual energy, they would form different inner cores. The same type of demon beast would become a fire spirit beast after forming a fire spirit core. If it formed a wood spirit core, it would become a wood spirit beast. Some talented demon beasts could even form two types of inner cores. There are only a little over 180 million demon beasts, Lin Feng muttered. Based on their different habits, they are divided into land-type demon beasts, sky-type demon beasts, and sea-type demon beasts. Because of the vastness of the ocean, sea-type demon beasts make up more than half of the demon beasts. The ocean is the true world of demon beasts. Lin Feng nodded thoughtfully. According to his father, the ocean encompassed 90% of the Douling world. The ocean, which humans could not inhabit, became the demon beast's best paradise. Insects make up the majority of the flying and land-type demon beasts. For example, there are more than 1 million types of flies. Similarly, there are close to 1 million types of beetles. This was a true introduction to demon beasts. Lin Feng was completely engrossed in reading. The rich knowledge entered his mind and filled in many blank areas. His understanding of magical beasts was slowly increasing. Most of them might seem insignificant, but many times they would inadvertently be of great help. Knowledge was always a very useful existence. So demon beasts are differentiated by their bloodline. The 4 supreme bloodlines? 5 supreme bloodlines. Oh my God, so the dragon race is not the true king of demon beasts. Lin Feng was extremely shocked. All along, in his mind, the dragon race was the supreme existence among the demon beasts. But now it seemed that this was not the case. Only the 5-clawed golden dragon occupies one of the 5 supreme bloodlines. The rest of the dragon race are mostly 2nd and 3rd level bloodlines. Lin Feng was shocked. He exhaled softly. According to the classification of dragon bloodlines in the catalog page, he quickly found the information he had been looking for. Black Mist Demon Dragon, mid-2nd level bloodline, violent and crazy personality, very strong battle power. Born with a dark element inner core, king-level demon beast when young, emperor-level demon beast when it matured. Transformation, extremely difficult. Transformation. Lin Feng was stunned. What was that? It was a term he had never heard of before. But it seemed to be related to the advancement of demon beasts. No wonder the Black Mist Demon Dragon is so strong. According to the book, if not for the fact that it is extremely difficult to transform, its bloodline should be 2nd level superior. Lin Feng nodded. Born with a dark element inner core, the Black Mist Demon Dragon is extremely talented in the path of time, known for its speed and battle power. Dark element, path of time, Lin Feng murmured softly, memorizing it in his heart. No wonder the Black Mist Demon Dragon was so fast that day, far surpassing me. Lin Feng was enlightened. A bloodline close to 1st level in the dragon race. It was extremely strong. Deep in the wilderness, beside the ocean, the fiery red ball of light had been gnawed clean. A 30-meter-long little monster roared as if it had not had enough. The flame mark on its forehead sparkled. In a short period of time after it was born, the little monster's body had expanded dozens of times, although it was naturally incomparable to those king-level demon beasts. But how could a demon beast's strength be determined by its size? In the sky, 3 majestic yellow dragons flapped their huge wings and roared as they flew past. Those emperor-level demon beasts were all silent. Yellow-orange dragon, mid-3rd level bloodline, could only be considered a very ordinary dragon. Ordinary yellow-orange dragons would only become Emperor-level demon beasts when they reached adulthood. However, to ordinary Emperor-level demon beasts, it was already a high and mighty existence. At this moment, the little monster seemed to be attracted by the roar. It looked at the sky, and its eyes flashed with a fierce light. That was the beast's innate fighting instinct. Its red hair stood up, and in an instant the little monster rushed up. It actually walked in the air strangely, and it did not need any help at all. The three incomparably strong yellow-orange dragons were shocked. However, when they saw that the newcomer was actually an inconspicuous little thing, they immediately despised it. Arrogant, the yellow-orange dragons were just about to show off their strength. Roar! Flames that soared into the sky suddenly erupted. The little monster opened its mouth, and the surging and terrifying flames instantly spread across the sky. This terrifying power was very similar to that of the huge ball of light. It was a flame that could really destroy everything. The three yellow-orange dragons with the strength of an emperor-level demon beast turned into ashes in an instant. Not even their bones were left. In the void, three yellow inner cores floated quietly. The little monster grabbed them with its claws and swallowed them directly. A satisfied smile appeared on its face. Third update: if you like fire refining the starry sky, please subscribe to support Xiao Xiao. This is very important for Xiao Xiao, who is supporting her family. Thank you. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.